Welcome to the Middle Ground. I am your host, Ohio Divided, joined by my co-host, Michigan Metal. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We had the hammer that came down, or maybe not so much of a hammer, come down on Michigan football. We had the punishment come out from the NCAA, and if you live under a rock, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. The Twitter app, social media in general, was absolute insanity this entire weekend. A lot of people think that the NCAA went pretty soft on Michigan. A lot of Michigan fans are getting their get back at a bunch of Ohio State, Michigan State, a lot of other rival fans that kept saying the hammer was coming. Wins were getting vacated. The national championship is getting taken. But here we are. We didn't get any wins vacated. The national championship is still intact for the Wolverines. We're going to talk about what that looks like for the outlook of the Michigan 2023 national championship, along with maybe some other situations that come with the NCAA, and a little bit of a laughing moment for Meadow and his fellow Michigan fans to poke a little fun at the people out there that were saying that the hammer was coming down. But before we get into it, Meadow, how we doing? How's your week going so far? I guess it's only Monday.
See if this actually works. Do you hear that?
I hear the claps.
It was great. It was a great weekend. You know what? Friday was a glorious day. You know, the NCAA results came out. I saw that, Michigan didn't get the hammer that was so-called talked about, or not so-called, it was talked about for years. And I'm pretty happy about that. I'm pretty happy that I don't have to worry about getting a postseason ban and, the possibility of making the playoffs this year and watching my team go forth on that. And also pretty happy that, the wins weren't vacated. So other than that, there was an air show here in Chicago, and the United States Air Force Thunderbirds took place of the U.S. Navy Blue Angels for the first time in a couple of years. And dude, Friday I was sitting here in my apartment, and I live about a 5-minute walk to the lake, right? And the way the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds, which is like their F-16s, I think they're F-35s. No, they're F-16s. They basically go around Lakeshore Drive, which is like basically the edge where the beach is at, to Lake Michigan, right? They do test runs on Friday, and there was 4 of them. And there was one that was by itself, and I was sitting here, and all of a sudden my entire apartment just shook. Like I thought the windows were going to fucking explode because they went sonic boom, and they were extremely low. And there was a bunch of videos out there, like at the Cubs game, you can see the Cubs dugout. And when the jet goes sonic boom, yeah, and they all freaked out and shit. There was a couple apartments close by that had their windows shattered,
No shit.
high rises and shit. Yeah, dude, it's fucking crazy. Yeah,
damn.
I mean, I love that shit.
I saw that video. With your background and your history and stuff, I'm sure you do. I'm sure that's fucking awesome. But I saw the video of the Cubs dugout, and I didn't really know what it was. I kind of watched it and was like, oh, kind of just kept on scrolling. I didn't realize all that was going on. That's pretty sick, though.
Yeah, dude, it was fucking crazy. Have you ever heard of a jet go Mach 1?
No.
In person?
I mean, the closest thing, you're probably gonna laugh at this, but the closest thing that I have to a jet is a flyover at a football game.
Oh.
And that enough is fucking loud. But I know that for you, that's probably literally nothing.
Dude, what I would do, you and your family, just go and see an air show, and just watch these guys just do maneuvers and stuff in the air. And when they go, when they break the sound barrier, it is the fucking coolest and most loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. You feel it in your body when they break the sound barrier. It's so cool. And in the back of my head, every time you watch it, I just think of Danger Zone, from the movie Top Gun. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
that's Top Gun's a great movie. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm fuck yeah, freedom. But yeah, other than that, pretty good weekend, man. How about yourself? How was your vacation?
It was good. I was just telling you before this, we went up to New York, up by the Finger Lakes, went to some breweries, went to some wineries, just me and my wife. So it was a nice little extended weekend. Did a lot of hiking. Spent 3 or 4 days up there. Really cool. Like when you talk about just like scenic views, really cool hikes, really cool breweries. Like there's a ton of wineries. They're really known for their wineries up around that area. Like just a really cool area all in all. And yeah, nice little getaway weekend. So if any of you are looking for a nice getaway weekend with your couple or maybe some other friends or some other couples, more of like a laid back type vibe, definitely recommend it. It was a good time. But no, other than that, I was Friday. We were on like hiking and on the trails and things like that. So I was consistently like checking my phone because I knew that they had announced that the word in the interview or press conference or whatever it was that was going to come out from the NCAA. They were originally saying a lot of that was going to come out at either like noon, 1 o'clock time frame. But I just had a feeling like something's going to get leaked with this. So I was continuously checking my phone. Me, from my position on it, when I saw it come through, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm not necessarily surprised. I think the big key player for me was like, are they going to get postseason bans? Yes or no? Anything else outside of that, I really don't think it's going to impact much. So, like even you and I, we had went into like, what is really vacating wins and like taking away a national championship? Like, what does that ultimately do? Nothing at the end of the day. Like everybody saw Michigan win those games. Everybody saw them hoist the trophy. So we've had in-depth conversations about how a majority of this, or like the biggest fall from a lot of this, is just going to be, is there going to be a postseason ban? So obviously the NCAA came out and said they wanted to avoid a postseason ban. They didn't want to have the kids that are currently here fall on the sword for actions of those that came before them, which is exactly what we had talked about, Metal, you and I, probably about 4 to 6 weeks ago on this whole thing. But other than that, I mean, what was your perception, I guess, when everything came out? Were you surprised by the punishments? Was it about what you expected? Did you feel, I'm sure you probably felt some relief. I felt some relief. Like, thank God we're fucking done with this. But how did you feel when you originally heard everything come out?
So when the news broke, I felt relieved, and I was kind of shocked at the same time, just because, like, I had the show while we were on vacation. I had it with Intrinsic, and we went through the NCAA bylaws, and we kind of talked about like Michigan's offenses and how each offense kind of flows into the bylaws, right? Like the lack of institutional control, the illegal scouting scheme, which is I think 1861, or I could be wrong on the numbers or something like that. But like we did like a deep dive. Like we spent 3 hours like talking about it, right? And Intrinsic is very knowledgeable with this stuff.
Oh yeah, he is.
And like he explained it, and we broke it all down, and I was like, well, I mean, if Michigan did this with X, Y, and Z, then obviously it falls under the matrix of like a postseason ban or like vacated wins. And then just like looking at, we also talked about like Baylor's incident, like Tennessee's incident, where like Tennessee's entire coaching staff got like fired. And they I think the NCAA tried to impede like a postseason ban on them, and didn't like follow through because like I think Tennessee appealed it. But I was like, what the fuck? Like, holy shit! Like, we didn't get a postseason ban. And then during the week when I heard about Spiro talking about in his subscriber space that it broke down basically saying that Michigan's going to get a $14 million fine, no postseason ban, and Sherrone Moore's getting a 2-game suspension on top of the self-imposed.
Once I saw Spiro saying that, that's whenever I was like, okay, this is probably going to be nothing more than a fine, and then a lot of other shit with show causes, guys getting suspended. That's when I was like, okay, there's not going to be any wins vacated. There's not going to be any postseason ban. Once you see a guy like him who has been trying to hammer Michigan at every turn, that's when I was like, all right, like there's nothing that's gonna come of this.
Yeah, I was surprised too, and I had some people telling me that Spiro is trolling people, and then his discussion showed up on the Bucknuts message board, and I read that, and I know like people like probably like Ohio State fans or who Michigan State fans or whoever else like wanted to basically just hammer Michigan, were just basically just talking about how this isn't real, like Spiro's making this up. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, why would Spiro talk about this in a subscriber only space that people pay for just to troll Michigan?
Yeah.
And I'm sure like his source, like the source was somebody that was connected to the University of Michigan. I could be wrong on that. And if someone wants to correct me on that, please do. But I think like you said, the tides kind of changed. Like when that came out, and I think people were freaking out about it.
Yeah.
And I know Dylan is listening to this right now too, and because me and him were talking about it the night before, that like I was saying to him like Michigan fans are celebrating extremely early, and they're celebrating on the 5-yard line at this point, because like tomorrow morning, like Friday, like Michigan could get absolutely fucked, and I kept thinking about that too, because like I'm just like talking to other Michigan fans, like, oh, we're not getting the hammer. This is what's gonna happen. And like I'm expecting, I'm hoping for the best and expecting the worst, right?
Yeah, you have
And
to.
it was
You
the
have to if you're
complete
in your
opposite.
shoes.
Yeah. Like it was complete fucking opposite, and I was shocked. And I think I was laughing more just about like other fans like were obviously pissed off, and I get it. Like you're expecting this this hammer to drop if you hate Michigan and stuff, and you want this, postseason ban, blah blah blah, and all this shit, other stuff to happen. And in my eyes, I'm like, well, I really don't give a fuck anymore. I just want to watch football at this point. Like I just want to move on, and I think everyone else wants to move on. You know, like football's right around the corner.
Yeah, that's what I said coming into this show is like, we're going to talk about this once and once for all. We're going to hit this from every single angle. This is probably all we're really going to talk about on tonight's show, but I think it deserves it with just everything that's happened the past couple years. I don't want to get too far into it right now here in the beginning segment, just because we have kind of broken this out into different sections and kind of talked about this from a different angle. I do want to shout out Jeff Koenig, though, coming in with the comment. He said, my only complaint is how much Ohio State was penalized for the tattoo deal, but yet basically nothing for Michigan. NCAA is weak and has no power. We need a new governing body for college sports. I don't disagree with any of that. This is a section we're going to get into later in the show. We kind of compare this whole thing to the Ohio State deal, to the USC deal. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Jeff. I think that is definitely a very valid question, especially when you consider something that directly impacted the outcome of games. Whenever you compare the Ohio State, the USC stuff, it was more off the field, not things that are actually going on in the middle of a game. But yeah, like I said, we'll get into it the further we go on with the show. But before we get into it, I want to thank our sponsor for this episode. This episode is brought to you by Draft Top, the ultimate tool for beer lovers. If you're tired of drinking out of cans and want to actually taste your drink the way it is meant to be enjoyed, Draft Top is your answer. It's a bar tool that removes the top of your can, turning it into a smooth open cup. That means better aroma, better flavor, and no more drinking through that tiny opening. Perfect for tailgates, watch parties, or just cracking open a cold one when you want to watch the Reds make a playoff push, or just stress you out. Go to drafttop.com and use promo code METAL to get 10% off your order. That's drafttop.com. Cut the top off, enjoy the drop. So before we really dive into the Michigan stuff, we'll talk about some notable headlines that are kind of happening amongst the sports world today. Julian Sayin named the starting quarterback for Ohio State. I think this was the inevitable. This was ultimately what everybody always knew it was going to happen. It was kind of up to question for me. I always felt like from the very beginning it was going to be Sayin until I watched the spring game and really saw him go out there and look pretty good, to be completely honest. I knew that it was his job to lose, and it was only a matter of time before he was actually named the guy. Ryan Day had a press conference earlier today, named him the guy, top 10 overall recruit in his respective class. Get him out there with Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis, all the playmakers that Ohio State has on offense. I think you could see a better passing attack with Sayin under center than what you saw out of Will Howard. So excited that they got this done. Excited that they got this finally announced. You got 2 weeks to get the kid ready. First start, number 1, Texas. Good luck, Julian.
I think I saw someone say on Twitter or X that Sayin has, I think it was Mr. Ohio, that Sayin has the keys to the Lamborghini, and all he has to do is literally just drive. Like, that's it.
I did see that too. I found that kind of funny because that was the same exact conversation that was happening with Will Howard a year ago. Like, it was like, dude, you got the keys to the Lambo. Like, don't wreck this thing. And I think it's basically the same for Julian. I just don't think that he has the talent in the backfield that what Will Howard had with Judkins and Henderson.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be asked of him to throw the ball more than what Howard had to. But I do think he is a better thrower of the football than what Will Howard is. I think that he has a lot more effortless release, a lot quicker release than what Will Howard is. Where Julian, you can definitely kind of see the arm talent. You kind of just see I always compare it to it's like a little Steph Curry flick of the wrist, it just real smooth, real quick, comes out real quick and smooth. Yeah, it's a lot like an Aaron Rodgers, just a real quick twick of the wrist and the ball's out. Where I think Will had to put a lot more into it, put his body into it a lot more, especially to drive a ball downfield. I think the arm talent of Julian Sayin's better than Will Howard. But I think Howard offers you a little bit more from a run game side of things and then obviously a leadership side of things. I think Julian Sayin is more of on the character side of a CJ Stroud. I think he is a very efficient passer, a very accurate passer, but he's a very quiet leader. I don't think that he's a guy that's very vocal. Obviously that can change. He's only a redshirt freshman at this point. He's got a lot of growing and things like that to do, but he was a guy from day one. I'm excited to see him. He was a highly touted 5-star recruit, top 10 recruit, as I said earlier. I'm excited. I'm ready to see some number 10 to number 4 connections. I think we're going to have a pretty fun next 2 years watching these two play together.
Yeah, it's going to be great seeing if, they all stick around, just seeing Underwood versus Sayin. Especially, come Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah, I know Tavian St. Clair was kind of the guy that was compared to Underwood. Coming out of high school, obviously, Underwood was a number 1 recruit. Tavian was a number 2 recruit. You kind of compared those two, but I don't know. There might only be one matchup between those two, and there's probably going to be 2 matchups between Underwood and Sayin between this year and next year. So, yeah, a lot of talent. I mean, both all 3 guys, honestly, top high-end talent. Julian was the lowest rated recruit out of all 3 of them, which is insane. But that's a good sign for good things to come, both at Ohio State and Michigan. They're going to have some pretty high-level quarterback play, I would say, the next few years.
Tomorrow is Savion Hyder's commitment.
I did see that. I also saw he put something on his story about something with Ohio State, and I was like, yeah, that's not a good sign.
Oh, the jack, yeah.
Or whatever it was. I can't remember. I think I saw Yoder post something about it, and I immediately was like, yep, he's going to Michigan. Every time a kid does this, they do the exact opposite. We see this all the time. So yeah, I'm fully expecting Hyder to go to Michigan, or I really haven't followed his recruitment that close. I just don't think he's going to Ohio State. Once I saw that, I was like, there's no way.
Dude, if Hyder if Hyder goes to Michigan and he has to play in Germany next year, it's gonna be so fucking funny, dude.
Fucking hilarious. Dude, your tweet a couple weeks ago was funny as hell.
Dude, every time I see his name, I have to do a double check, and I'm like,
oh
wait a
yeah,
minute.
I know.
Okay,
I know. I'm the same. I'm the same way as you. It's like your mind's playing games with you.
You're like, wait a minute. Fucking PTSD's kicking off.
Yeah. So I think you wanted to talk a little bit about the MLB geographic relaxation for relocation for divisions. Sounds like you were listening to the broadcast last night on ESPN between the Mets and the Mariners. Went a little bit further in depth with it. So what you got there, Metal?
So last night during the Mets Mariners game, which there was also some feuds with the mound yesterday. I don't know if you saw that too, especially a Little League game, which is funny, or at a Little League stadium. But there was talks about the geographic expansion, and then the realignment for divisions. So it's possibly they're going to add another team somewhere out there in the West Coast. Don't know exactly where yet because I know Oakland already transitioned to Sacramento, which they're currently right now building the stadium in Vegas for the Vegas A's, which is fucking weird saying that. And then they're looking to build another team out in the West Coast somewhere. So what the MLB wants to do, or like they're basically proposing to owners right now, is that there's going to be alignments in divisions to where the MLB is going to be like the NBA, to where you're going to have like an Eastern Conference and then you're going to have a Western Conference. But I think the divisions are probably going to be a lot smaller. They're probably just going to align divisions like, example, the AL East will become like the Phillies, Yankees, Red Sox, and Mets. And then you can have like the AL Central will be like Detroit, Toronto, the frickin' Reds, and then like the
Guards,
Guardians
probably.
or something like that. Yeah. So, I mean, this idea, like, I can see why they're doing that because, like, obviously they want to align baseball and, you know, it's spanned to, like, modern times, which I can see why ownerships would want to do this at this time, but it would just be so odd to watch or just, like, to look at it, you know, that we're going to play the Red Sox are going to play the Mets 13 times out of the year. And, you know, the Philadelphia Phillies 13 times instead of like playing, you know, the Rays and the Blue Jays and the Yankees and the Orioles. So I mean, it would just be, I don't know. I don't know if I'm on board for it, but it could be something interesting to see. Like, I think we talked about it before the show started. Like, it would spark up some new rivalries, and then like it would definitely enhance some old rivalries, like with, like, you know, the Mets and Yankees only play like I think once or twice a year, which, you know, they're gonna play each other 13 times now if that was the case, if they were gonna do that. And like the Cubs and the White Sox will be in the same division. Like that'd be
good for the
fucking
Cubs.
nuts. Yeah, and it's good for the White Sox too. Brings more fans to their stadium.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the changes that Major League Baseball has done the last couple of years, like implementing the pitch clock. That was a fantastic idea. Speeds up the game a lot. Making the bases a lot bigger to basically allow there to be more steals, which ultimately lead to more runs. I think that is a fantastic idea. Baseball is starting to become dead. You needed to change something to get people back engaged. And then lastly, like the amount of times that a guy can throw over or try to pick somebody off, regardless of what the base is. I think a lot of that stuff are fantastic rules that are only going to lead to better quality baseball or more runs, more excitement, more production on the offensive side of things. That's really going to help the game grow. I don't think, if they were to go and do this, I don't think it changes like anything too awfully drastic. I just don't think that I would like seeing a change and kind of seeing some of the rivalries go away as much. So like if you talk about I always think about things from like my perspective of like the Reds. So if you're now playing the Guardians, the Blue Jays, and the Tigers, like other than the Guardians, there's really not a whole lot of history there. Like I don't really fucking care to go play the Tigers and the Blue Jays a lot of different times throughout the year. And, like, that kind of sucks. Like, we wouldn't play the Cubs. We wouldn't play the Brewers. We wouldn't play the Cardinals. Like, I feel like I would rather see those rivalries continue to be a thing and continue to go on with the history that they've had with each other. Obviously, the Reds, like, from my side of things, I'm sure the Cubs and the Cardinals and the Brewers, I'm sure they want to keep playing the Reds because they have the Reds number every single year. But I just think, like, that's part of how you're going to keep viewership up is, like, if you're a Cubs fan, the Reds are coming to town. I'm going to go catch a game. If you're the Cardinals, I fucking hate the Reds. I'm going to go catch a game. The Reds are in town. I don't think you're going to have that as much of, like if the Reds go up to Toronto, like, a normal average Toronto fan's not going to be like, oh, yeah, the Reds are in town. I'm going to go catch that because that's a huge rivalry. I can't stand those guys, and I want to go beat them. I think you're going to lose a lot of that kind of rivalry side of things. I'm sure logistically and things like that, especially when you're playing 162 games, probably logistically makes a lot more sense. But, I mean, like, even for, like, the Red Sox or, like, the Reds side of things, like, the teams that are in their division, it's not like it's an absolute nightmare logistically to get to Chicago from Cincinnati or to get to St. Louis from Cincinnati. Like, I'm sure you could probably only having to go to Cleveland versus St. Louis or Chicago a couple times a year or going up to Detroit. I'm sure you probably save some money in travel, just the time that it takes to travel and things like that. Like, I'm sure you're going to see benefits with that, and I completely understand that when you're playing 162 games or 162 of these fucking things. Like, it probably sucks over the long haul. But I don't want to see a lot of those rivalries go away. It's part of how you're going to continue to grow the game, and it's part of how you're going to keep, like, loyal fans around and keep them excited as well.
So CBS Sports released a, like, scenario mock, like, division sheet. So the Northeast would have the Mets, Phillies, Red Sox, Yankees. And then Great Lakes would be Blue Jays, Guardians, Pirates, Tigers. North would be Brewers, Cubs, Twins, White Sox. Mid-Atlantic would be Braves, Orioles, Nationals, and Reds. And then
I do
NL,
not like that at all.
Yeah, do.
What?
Yeah, you guys, yeah. And then NL Central would be Cardinals, Rockies, Royals, and then the possible expansion team, Nashville. South would be Astros, Marlins, Rangers, Rays. Southwest would be Angels, Diamondbacks, Dodgers, and Padres. And then Northwest would be Athletics, Giants, Mariners, and then a possible expansion team in Portland.
Yeah, no, now that you say that, that was different than what we were talking originally. I'm out on that. Just from the Red side of things, dude, I do not want to watch the fucking Reds and Orioles, Reds and Nationals, and Reds and Braves multiple times a year over the Reds and the Cubs or the Reds and the Cardinals. Fuck that. No, I'm out. No, that's stupid. That's dumb as fuck. Logistically, that's worse. That's worse. To go to, I mean,
yeah, 'cause you got DC.
To go to DC and then to go to Baltimore, like, and then obviously Georgia's even further than that. That's worse than what no, absolutely not. There's a lot of history when it comes to the Reds and the Cubs and the Cardinals and the Brewers and, like, and the Pirates. Like, just fucking leave it how it is. Like, you don't need to be messing with something that's not broke. You made some good moves to your game a couple years ago. Leave it how it is. Your baseball is back up on a good trajectory. I think it's the best place it's probably been in 5-10 years. You have a lot of stars in your game that you can market. Just leave it how it is. You're only going to help the game by keeping some of these rivalries that have been around, by keeping them around. You don't need to go fix it. So I'm out on that.
Yeah, I don't know why the Pirates would be in the Great Lakes and why the Reds wouldn't. I mean, it's only like 3 hours to Toledo, which is right on, like, Lake Erie, and so is, like, it's probably a 3-hour drive to Cleveland as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know how far, like, Pittsburgh is to, like, Lake Erie. Like, it would make more sense that since, like, Pittsburgh is closer to like the Orioles and Nationals and Braves than, like, Cincinnati is. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
So, like, it says here some rivalries that would be broken up if this was the case. It would be the Cardinals, Cubs, and the Dodgers and Giants. They get broken
and
up.
I would also call the Reds and the Cardinals and the Reds and Cubs up there as, like, just as big of fucking rivalries.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know the Reds have sucked the last 10, 15 years, but, like, those teams have been playing each other for decades. I mean, the Reds have 3 World Series in their history, and a lot of it was going through those teams, and there were good matchups between those teams. I'm out on that. I do not want that.
You know how terrible like it would be to like have to play the Mets 13 times and the Phillies 13 times? Like, dude, the
Oh
Northeast
yeah.
Division would be fucking stacked.
Yeah, I mean, you basically just have your hodgepodge of the big market teams up there that have the money to just spend and get whatever stars that they want. And I guess on the plus side for like us small market teams that sit here as like the Reds, like, yeah, go beat each other up. I would rather have that for sure. Like I would rather just have the big market teams just play each other rather than just beating up on the small market teams. So I guess that would be the one positive out of it, but no, I'm good. We don't need to do this.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. I think like if I had the choice between like where like a new expansion team would be like out of like Nashville or Portland, I would choose Nashville. Portland's a shithole.
Yeah. And
I don't know
Jeff
if you've ever
Koenig
been
just
there,
brought up
but
a really good point too. He said like if you evaluate rivalries that are out there, behind the Yankees and the Red Sox, like the Cubs and Cardinals could definitely be 2, and the Dodgers and Giants could definitely be like the 3rd biggest rivalry. So I agree 100% with that as well. Like those are 3 big rivalries right there that you're basically getting rid of that I think are only going to help you grow the game. Like eliminating these rivalries is only going to have a negative impact on just the future of your game, the future of your league, the future of like the expansion of your league. If you want to put teams in, I don't know where you said Nashville and somewhere else, just logistically look at which divisions are out there and just fucking put them in one that has 4 teams, or like don't overthink this. You don't need to make this complicated. Like just add your teams if you want to, put them in the division that makes the most sense logistically and geographically, and just roll with it. Let these teams that have been playing each other for decades and centuries at this point, let them keep doing it. It's only gonna help you grow the game. All right.
yeah,
So I think we got our point across on that. We are not for realignment. Let's just play ball. You're in a good spot. You made some good changes. No reason to fix what's not broke. So the Michigan news. We're going to get into it. Like we talked about, we're going to break this up into a couple different segments. First, we're going to talk about the punishment. Go through exactly what the Wolverines got. If we thought it should have been more, should have been less. From there, we're going to go on and troll Buckeye Scoop and Spiro because they deserve to be trolled with them basically guaranteeing anything and everything that they own, I guess you could say, that the hammer was coming down on Michigan. That did not come. We're going to compare this to other NCAA punishments, such as the Ohio State tattoo gate and the USC Reggie Bush situation. And then lastly, we're going to hit on Metal's heartstrings at the very end. What does the 2023 National Championship look like? Not only to Michigan fans, but to the rest of college football. So let's get into it. The punishments for your Michigan Wolverines. Michigan football was put on 4 years probation, roughly a $50,000 fine, which I'm not sure if that was accurate or not. I thought it was like $20 million or something. I got this from an article on ESPN, so I don't know what the actual money is. Basically, the end of the story, they got a fine. Like whatever it is, it really doesn't fucking matter. It's going to get paid, and I think they've appealed it, yada, 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 whatever. But they have fines on postseason revenue. They have some fines on scholarships. They have some recruiting restrictions. They have a 25% cuts to visits. They have a 14-week ban. Jim Harbaugh, 10-year show cause. Connor Stallions, 8-year show cause. Denard Robinson, 3-year show cause. And then Sharon Moore, a 2-year show cause plus a 3-game suspension, which that counts the 2 that are self-imposed in weeks 3 and 4 in 2025. And then he'll probably have 1 in 2026 against like Grambling State or something like that. Metal, so I'll open it up to you if you have anything to comment, anything you want to add on this, and then we can kind of get into whether we thought should have been more, should have been less, and go from there.
So the $50,000 fine is right. They get fined $50,000 plus 10% of revenue that they make from the postseason. um, which is like around like if you do the math, it's about like $20 million that they
So
usually
that's where the
make.
20 million came from then. Because
Yeah.
I was gonna say I
So
thought I saw the 20 million somewhere, but I didn't really know where that came from. Again, like I don't really care that much about the numbers. It's just like they got fined. Okay.
because I think we talked about this in a space where like Michigan like for revenue and just the total year revenue of like fiscal year like they made it over like I think $200 million, right? So that'd be
That
like
makes
the
sense then.
10% of that, so the 20 million. Um, yeah, it's like for like the punishment and stuff. Like just looking at this, I would say this is probably it's probably definitely lesser than like obviously what Ohio State, got in 2020 or 2012. Like I know Ohio State, like they had ineligible players and they had the tattoo gate to where like people were exchanging tattoos for blah 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 X Y and fucking Z, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then you look at this for Michigan and stuff. Like you have this basically sign stealing scheme that was ran by Connor Stallions, and this entire investigation. Like I read the 74 page report by the NCAA,
By the
and
way, how long did
inside
that
the
take
report,
you? How long did that take you before you get
uh,
into it?
so I kind of skimmed through like most of like the preamble stuff, like just like setting up the scene and everything like that. I got to more of like I didn't read the recruiting stuff because a lot of it wasn't like the show cause recruit like the recruiting violations. Um, I didn't read that stuff. All I read was basically like the sign stealing scheme. I read the context of that, what happened, like the evidence for that, and then I also read like the penalties. Um, so reading like the report, so Connor Stallions had a team of people, and he called them like KGB agents, like he's a fucking Russian spy. Um, and
What does
what
that even stand
basically
for again?
it's basically it's like Russia's no, that's Spetsnaz. They were Cold War spies basically during like the Cold War and stuff.
And he called
Russia
him
had
this?
spies there. He called them KGB. Yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah. So
That's
they
just
were
like
like his spies.
cringy. That's just fucking
So
cringy.
yeah, it's pretty funny. Um, so what he did was he would pay people. He would pay for their tickets. He would pay for some people's airfare, their lodging, and he would pay for their tickets to attend the event. And what they would do is they would basically sit somewhere in the stadium and they would record uh, the opposing teams or the team that Connor needed information from. He would record their signals. So then Connor would get that information, that all that film, uh, back to back to himself, and he would decipher the signals, and then he would put it into like his basically like kind of like file management system to where like he can like kind of track everything for all his different signals and shit, right? So he did he did in the report it did say that this was funded by him, which I know we talked about this before that like Connor Stallions it would be possible for like Connor Stallions to afford all this stuff. Because it was talked about like how like straight from the documentary too, like they quoted that a lot. That like he rented out his place on Airbnb and he slept in his car. Like all that stuff was in the document. And he would
So he
travel
was renting
from
out his place to sleep in his car so he could fund this thing.
yeah, basically. Yeah. And he would
Wow.
travel from Camp Pendleton, which is right outside San Diego. And he would travel from there and back and forth before like I don't think he reenlisted for his contract. But yeah, he would travel like all the time for that. So that was wild. That was wild hearing that. I don't know if that's like actually
That's
believable.
that's crazy.
I mean, I did the math on it, like the logistics wise, like because I mean having like obviously being in the military and stuff, and I had some people that try to debunk me on this. Like, if you're so Connor Stallions was he was an O2, and he was the MBH out there in Camp Pendleton, which is probably one of the highest like BH like locations in the United States. He was getting about $4,500 extra a month, and that's tax free. And on top of that, his base pay I think is around 3,900 at that point. Like I think he was O2 under two, so he's getting that money, and then plus you get other incentives when you're an officer or when you're in the military too. Like you just get other random pay shit. So he was getting that, and plus on top of that, the Airbnb funding and probably paying for his mortgage. So I mean, it's probably possible that like Connor was like able to fund this all by himself, but I don't know if I actually believe that. I there probably is someone else that was like involved in the situation, but that wasn't in the document at all, and like they didn't really talk about that.
I'm sure there was like some boosters or somebody had to help fund this. Like you think about travel, hotel, tickets, like that shit adds up, especially whenever you're talking about multiple games throughout the season. Like this just wasn't one or two games. Like this was like a weekly type thing, like going to multiple games weekly. Like that's it's probably a couple $1,000s when you consider flights, hotels, tickets, good enough tickets to be like close enough and in a good enough spot to be able to get video or get pictures of whatever it was that they were filming. I would say he definitely had somebody helping him. I would say probably once he was a little more proven of what he was doing is actually worthwhile and it was helping the team out and they were seeing the advantages of it. I'm sure that's whenever people started forking up money. So I would guess probably started off pretty low key in 2021, just continuously progressed, got more active kind of as it went. And it was like proving it like, hey, I'm like getting these signals. I have a pretty good understanding of what is coming from a majority of time from a lot of these teams. And I can decipher exactly like what it is that they're calling. So I would guess that for sure.
Yeah, he like when he went to the coaches clinic back in 2018, after the Naval Academy, like he went to a coaches clinic in Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan, and that's when he met like Partridge, the strength and conditioning coach. And I could be wrong.
So
on the title
where does him getting fired come into play? Was it because he was basically telling players to like not release information and kind of just like getting involved in that side of things? Was that kind of why he was fired?
Yeah, and like I guess the assumption that like he had knowledge of all this information because he was the one that got Connor Stallions on the team. Like he was the one that he had conversation with Stallions and they both met at this coaching clinic and they became close. So like obviously that close relationship and the NCAA. There was thrown out assumption basically that like Partridge had information on the scandal or on the scheme.
Gotcha. Real quick, I want to shout out a couple more comments that we have coming in. Jeff Canning again said these were high profile games too, and seats good enough to see the signals, which is a very, very valid point as well. Where yes, you were buying high level seats, but you're also going to these high level games where the prices are typically higher. So, therefore, the pricing on that kind of stuff, regardless of the flights, regardless of the hotel, is going to be even higher than that. So, great point by Jeff Canning there. And then the Wiseman, he said, appreciate y'all. Just had this on in the background. Good listen. Appreciate you, Wiseman. Appreciate the support. But, yes, I think from my side of things, I know that we had our predictions back about a month ago, maybe a little bit more than this. I think to an extent I basically predicted most of this stuff. Now, I didn't go through and be like, Jim Harbaugh will get 10 years. Connor will get 8. Like I kind of just predicted there would be some show causes and then some suspensions. But the one part that I did miss on was I thought that they would at least vacate wins up until Connor Stallions was released from the program. I thought they would have kept the second half of 2023 wins. I also thought they were going to keep the national championship. I never once thought any of that was being taken away. But my guess was they were going to take away the wins or vacate the wins up until Connor left. And that was the part that I think surprised me the most, because you can vacate shit, especially if you just vacate regular season wins and allow Michigan to keep the national title. I think majority, 90% of Michigan fans would have been okay with it. Like, who the fuck cares? Take your fucking regular season games, take them off our fucking books, and move on. We still have our trophy. It's right there in the case. You also win those games that got vacated. And by the way, here's a trophy that we still have, and you still can look in the NCAA record books and see that Michigan won the national championship in 2023. So I think from Michigan's side of things, like vacating all those wins up until that point, I don't think, like, would you guys have cared?
I know, I wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. That's what
I saw the games.
Yeah, exactly. Like I completely understand the side of it of like putting in postseason bans directly impacts kids, and you're punishing kids who had nothing to do with it to everything that was prior. Now, in Mensa Sports, I heard them talking about how Akron's team is currently not able to play in the postseason because of like their team GPA or their team grades were too low, which whatever. I think that is more on the side of this is fucking Michigan, this is fucking Akron. We don't give one single fuck if Akron is playing in the fucking postseason because we aren't making shit off of that. But Michigan, on the other hand, we can make a lot of money off of having a big brand like that in the postseason. So that's why we're not. I think that was another thing that went into it. For one, it was the kids. For two, it was you kind of want Michigan to be in the national spotlight when you get into the postseason because it's going to bring viewership. So that was the part that I was surprised about.
Didn't we talk about this in a space where I said that, you know, this could be a possibility where Michigan is not going to get a postseason ban because of viewership and the revenue that they make?
That you did, and that was a big part of, like, I considered it at the time when you said that, and I'm like, yeah, that's a really good point that Metal make. Like, he specifically said, I don't think that the NCAA necessarily wants to give Michigan a postseason ban because of the revenue potential that is there with a brand like Michigan. So yeah, you 100% did say that, and I thought that was a very valid point. Especially like, here's the thing. I don't know how many of you saw my Josh Pate video that I put out the other day, but I ultimately thought that before he actually put that video out. The NCAA today is a shell of itself from what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. The NCAA can see a clear picture that they are kind of getting kicked to the wayside, and a lot of these conferences and with a lot of these high-level teams are basically giving them the middle finger and telling them to fuck right off. We're doing exactly what we want to do. We don't care what the fuck you say. So I think if you come in with any kind of substantial punishment with Michigan, not vacating wins, I don't think people care about that. Not vacating, maybe if you vacate the national championship, you're going to have people pissed off about that. But putting in a postseason ban is only going to piss people off even more. You piss off a big brand like Michigan, and I ultimately think that the NCAA is like, we are on our way out, and if we do something to Michigan to not allow them to participate in the postseason, that is the ultimate death of us. Like, we are going to die quicker if we do that than if we just let this kind of ride off and then move on from it. So I think it's a point of, like, the NCAA is spineless at this point. They have zero fucking power in the sport anymore. And I think the NCAA took this into consideration whenever they went about making a lot of these sanctions. Because I really do think 10, 15 years ago, you were probably seeing stuff vacated and you were probably seeing a postseason ban. I mean, the evidence is there that they went about this cheating scandal and they 100% cheated. The evidence is there that they had this big operation going on. They had this guy leading it. There were coaches that knew about all of this going on. Like, all of that is there, but I think it happened at the right time for Michigan where it's not ultimately really going to affect them moving forward. So then you kind of get to the point of, well, it worked. Like, we didn't get anything for this. Like, we still have our national championship. We still have our insane 3-season stretch that we went on. Like, who the fuck cares?
Basically, that's what it is. Who fucking cares? That's how I feel.
So
I
I
know
want to
there's a
give
lot of people
you
pissed off out there.
I want to
So
give you your flowers medal because I know that you have been living day in and day out, constantly trying to fight for Michigan and basically have the argument that they were a legit good ass football team that deserved to be in the spots that they were in. And I agree 100% with that. But I think there were a couple of accounts out there, Justin Spiro, Buckeye Scoop, that went very far into this. I mean, they built their whole brand around this. They covered this every second of every day. They were screaming that a hammer was coming. They were screaming that the 2023 national championship was going to be vacated. They were screaming postseason bans were coming. And none of it came. And they look like complete fucking jackasses. They look like fucking idiots. They sat here and built their entire brand off of Michigan's sign stealing scandal. And now that it's over, none of what they said was going to happen happened. And now they just have everybody clowning them. Meadow, I'm going to turn it over to you because I know this hits dear to your heart.
So I will give people I'll give like Spiro some respect and intrinsic, obviously, for reporting facts.
But not Buckeye Scoop. Fuck them.
Yeah. So yeah, fuck them. Like I understand they reported what was going on. Like Spiro broke the news on the Connor Stallions being on the CMU sideline, and that went viral and that went huge, and that was part of the case, and that's in a hole in the document, and that was proven that Connor Stallions was at the CMU game. I see these people and I see them post every day about Michigan getting the hammer, and then people have literally built their brand off of this, and they're giving false promises to these people saying, hey, Michigan's going to get a 3-year postseason ban. Michigan's going to have all their wins vacated. Michigan's going to have their national title vacated. Michigan's going to have X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, fucking yawn. And now people are in the predicament of, well, these people are liars. Like, I was lied to. And now you have people there that follow Spiro and follow Buckeye Scoop that are pissed. I mean, it's kind of like you've been told for years that this is going to happen. This is going to happen in Michigan. Michigan is going to get fucked. Michigan's going to get railed. This proverbial hammer is coming down on Michigan, and it doesn't happen. Do you know how fucking stupid you look now? Like, how can you be trusted?
Well, the other side of it, too, is how stupid it makes, like, me look. Other Ohio State fans look. That weren't sitting here screaming this shit. Like, yeah, I 100% got tagged in shit that I had posted, basically just trolling Michigan fans, like, hey, the hammer's coming, the hammer's coming. But there was never once where I was dedicating every second of every day studying this, trying to understand exactly what was coming, banging on the drum that there was this hammer coming, when ultimately there was nothing. Absolutely nothing came from this, other than a slap on the wrist, a couple fines, a couple show causes. Nobody fucking cares. But you were sitting here basically saying it was going to be everything but the death penalty that was coming, and it wasn't. You sat here and spewed this bullshit for years. For years, spewed this bullshit, and you made a lot of people pissed off for the ones that followed you and actually believed the bullshit you were putting out. And then for two, the other side of it I would put myself into like the same space as a lot of Ohio State, a lot of Michigan State fans. I'm like, I wasn't fucking sitting here banging the drum. I wasn't sitting here. You just make everybody else look like a bunch of fucking jackasses. And I saw Michigan fans trolling nonstop, and I don't blame them.
Oh, yeah.
But I was also just like, motherfuckers, majority of us were not screaming this. A majority of us trolled it, and a majority of us basically played on the sidelines of, let's see what happens and what all comes of this. But
dude, you know how many times I will say something about the sign stealing scandal on X before the results came out, and I would get these fucking troglodyte accounts that have like 80 followers or like 100 followers, and their entire account is built off of just like hating Michigan fans, which is fine. If you want to be a fucking loser and this is what you want to do, that's okay with me. But just imagine how that person felt. The person who owns that account woke up set Friday morning, made a coffee, went and fucking trolled other Michigan fans, and then around 10 o'clock Eastern time, it comes out that Michigan doesn't get a postseason ban. Like, dude, your fucking mind had to have been blown.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
your whole world must have went upside down.
they had to have been in shambles. I mean, I couldn't even imagine like Buckeye Scoop, Spiro when all this shit came out. It sounds like Spiro kind of had an idea of it before time, but I'm sure they were just like fuck.
Well,
Ryan Day's burner. One real quick, Metal. Ryan Day's burner has a comment. He asked, "Do you think posting for clicks got away from them? Clearly had no good sources." Abso-fucking-lutely. It 100% did. I think Spiro kind of took it as like how you described it. I think he was basically going off of factual information, past historical information that he was making his assumptions on. I don't know if he had any fucking sources or not. But Buckeye Scoop, for one, they 1,000% were doing this for clicks, and it 1,000% got away from them because they became so obsessed with the clicks that came with it.
Yeah, they would always say they had insider sources, and I know Zach Smith and I know Chris, they always talk about that. I know Zach is always hammering down on fucking Nevada Buck because he's a fucking pussy too. That they have no fucking sources, they have no insiders. It's just all bullshit. And when this news broke out, I'm just like, dude, these people are fucking fake. Like, they're fake. They don't know anybody. They don't know fucking people. Like, you just meet these people online, and they just tell you, like, hey, my name is Jim Johnson, and I work for University of Ohio, and I have inside connections to the NCAA. And then people will be like, oh, really? Wow, okay, well, let me just write off that. Like, and you vocalize this to the 900, 1,000 streamers that Buckeye Scoop gets every time they go live. And then you get other fucking brain dead idiots, people that just don't have a single cell in their fucking brain, that will just follow this information, and they will run with it like wildfire. And now, like, you're just spreading lies and misinformation. Like, I respect Intrinsic because I know I feel bad for him because, like, I know that, like, he did his job, like, he reported what was going on. But I feel like he was lied to a little bit, and I was worried about that. And I did text him like, "Hey, man, I hope you're doing all right. Like, I don't want you to feel down. Football season's right around the corner, right?"
Mm-hmm.
But just like everybody else, like, just writing this shit for like 2 fucking years, like having to hear this stuff. And what else is really funny to me? I know Intrinsic went on Scoop podcast last week with B Moses and that fucking fat fuck Nevada Buck. And they were talking about, like, B Moses was talking about how Michigan fans, all they did was talk about Tattoo Gate and blah, blah, blah. And that it's unfair for them to receive this criticism. Like, guys, like, your fucking boss, for one, is a piece of shit drunk, and your other boss is a fucking snake. And you're telling these people fucking lies. You told them lies for 2 fucking years. And you're getting these people to go after Michigan fans just because they support a team that is involved in a fucking scandal. And you don't think people are going to clash back at you when they're pissed off? Like, I was so happy to see Michigan fans just, like, ride and, like, and enjoy, like, not getting a fucking postseason ban. Of course, like, we're going to celebrate. Like, we get to watch our team in a fucking postseason. Who wouldn't fucking celebrate that?
Right.
Who gives a fuck? Like, it doesn't fucking matter anymore. Like, it's just baffling. Like, I'm just so, I'm kind of like traumatized by such a fucking glib statement by the entire Scoop, like, brand, that they have no common sense or, like, any, like, cognitive dissonance at all. Like, they are fucking dumb. Like, I don't understand it. Like, it's crazy to me. But it of course, like you keep poking the bear's gonna fucking poke back, and this is what happened. And then people have, like, receipts and stuff. And, they're coming out because the whole 2 years people were saying that, hammer, 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 it's coming down for Michigan. And it's just never fucking happened. No hammer.
Yeah.
Michigan fucking walked away.
I respect the hell out of Intrinsic. I know that he ran with this, but I think like he put in a lot of research and a lot of time to back up the things that he was saying. Obviously, you engage with Intrinsic a lot more than I do. Like I DM Intrinsic every so often. I didn't really always get into a whole lot of this sign stealing stuff because, like I've said multiple times, it honestly just annoys the fuck out of me. I was happy to have it done. I want to talk about it one time because it is. We need to talk about it. It's a very big topic that's going on within the rivalry, within college football, within the history of sports. Like, we have to talk about it.
Right.
But I always felt like Intrinsic at least had substance to what he was saying. Like, he was pulling NCAA documentation. He was pulling sources to basically back up why he was saying what he was saying. And whenever he would say it, it would make sense. Like, I read a lot of his stuff, and it's like he had sources. He had information to back up why he was saying what he was saying, and he went about it the right way. Like Buckeye Scoop on the other side of things, 1,000% just did this for fucking clicks, made up shit, like whatever it is that they were doing, complete just frauds. So Ryan Day's burner, again with another chat, said, where do you draw the line between feeding into a narrative and ruining your credibility? Obviously, you want posts that drive engagement, but... yeah, like exactly. Like obviously each and every one of us that are on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever it might be, like your goal is to get clicks. Your goal is to get people to engage with your stuff. But there's also a line that you draw with just making shit up, with especially something like this that is so controversial, that has a lot of people that are very emotional about this. You're going to get people on board with everything that you're saying, especially with the brands that like a Buckeye Scoop has. So you're going to have people that are going to buy into the bullshit that you're feeding them, but they 100% just went way over the fucking top with it. They used this as a way to grow their business, to get clicks, to do whatever it is what they were doing. They probably made some decent money off of this over the course of the past couple of years. So I guess in that standpoint, good for them, but fuck them at the same time for making shit up. And then the whole thing with the whole Kirk Barton shit where he crashed his car drunk as shit, whatever. Not getting into that again, but they're just spewing this shit to people, trying to get people to believe this narrative that Michigan football is getting everything except the death penalty when they ultimately got nothing in the end. And Jeff Canning, again, with another good comment. He said, people don't care. Clicks pay. So if they're getting clicks, they don't care. And I agree. Like, I do it. Metal does it. Like, we all post shit to try to get clicks. It's no fucking... that is no like secret here. That is 100% what everybody on X that posts is trying to do. They're trying to get clicks. They're trying to get people to engage with their shit. Yeah, that's the name of the game. That's what you do whenever you're on social media. But at the same point, like if you're a show sitting out here trying to act like you have sources, trying to act like you have all this behind the scenes information, like the middle ground, for instance, our show, we do not sit here and try to break news. We don't sit here and try to act like we know what's going on within Michigan's four walls. We don't sit here and act like we know what's going on in between Ohio State's four walls. That's not who we are. We are dumb fucks that get on a microphone. We throw some fucking topics together that relate to college football, relate to Ohio State football, relate to Michigan football, and we talk about it. We have our opinions on things. We don't sit here and try to drive this fucking narrative to anybody that a hammer's coming, or this is what we're hearing, and this is how we want to drive this narrative. That is not at all what we do here. But they fell into that trap where they started to want the clicks. They started to need the clicks too badly that they just started spewing bullshit, and it's ruined their brand. It's ruined their reputation. It's ruined their credibility, and here we are today, shitting on them, which they deserve.
I mean, you tell people... You basically scam them for 2 fucking years. Like, people are gonna be upset, and then like you said, like I have no idea how much money these people made off of this. It's probably up there. It's probably maybe like tens of thousands of dollars for the past like couple years, just talking about this scandal. Like that's fucking crazy. Like all the donations and stuff, and like I thank God like Buckeye Scoop and whoever, I think Kirk Barton's son runs that fucking account. Like, thank God I didn't make a bet with him because I wouldn't have gotten paid. Because I don't know if you saw that that Nevada Buck and his son both owe
Yoder, they owe
$1,000.
Yoder like
$1,000.
$1,500 or something, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
fucking pay up,
He's
you
fucking
pussies.
scamming people.
Pay up. If you're going to sit here and bang the drum, make these bets, and swear up and down this shit's happening, and then you fold whenever it comes time for fucking payday, pay your fucking bets. You're a fucking spineless pussy. Just pay your bets. You ran with this narrative for a couple years, and it came back, smacked you in the face. Everybody knows that you were complete just driving bullshit. The least you could do is pay a guy that you went back and forth with all this time and look like a little bit less of a soft person, I guess you could say. The least you could do is at least pay your debts.
No, they're baby back bitches. That's what they are. So Dusty May and George say, I hate to say it, but Spiro was right about damn near every report he made. But his biggest issue was he kept making edits that wins would be vacated and the hammer was coming. Yeah. I mean, he did his job. Like, he reported it. I'll give him that. Like, respect on that. He did his job, and he did a pretty good job of doing it too.
Yeah, I
It's
didn't
just that-
follow Spiro's shit close enough like you guys did, but it sounds like he was more closer to Intrinsic than he was Buckeye Scoop, where he actually had some legitimacy to anything he was saying.
So, like, I think, like, everybody, like, can learn something from this. Like, just like how the NCAA works and like the COI process, that this stuff is not binary. Like, you can't just pick like basically like an offense and be like, okay, this is going to be this bylaw and this is going to be the outcome of this. Like, no, it's not that simple, because like you have like a COI, a group of people that all have their own opinions, and they're going to come together and make a decision on this stuff. And so, like, I feel like a lot of people are running off of what the NCAA bylaws say, and when they should have been thinking about, well, what are other people going to think about this, and what are the other like possible outcomes? Instead, like, they just strictly ran this shit straight into the fucking ground, and they were wrong. Like, they were wrong about the outcomes. No postseason ban, no vacated wins, no vacated national championship. Just fines and suspensions. That is fucking wild.
Which is the equivalent to nothing.
Yeah, literally nothing. Literally nothing. It's great. Fuck them.
Yeah. So, Buckeye Scoop, you guys did some dirty work and pissed a lot of people off. So I gave you guys an unfollow for that. So, congratulations.
Oh, he followed me Friday, by the way. Scoop did. I'm surprised he hasn't unfollowed me yet. Yeah.
Just wait. He hasn't been around long enough. So the next topic we wanted to talk on, we want to compare this to two of the bigger scandals that have been out there amongst college football. Obviously, you have the USC scandal where Reggie Bush had his Heisman stripped. I think his family was being given money, gifts, anything like that during his time at USC. And then the tattoo gate at Ohio State. Obviously, many people know this one very well as well. Memorabilia. Players gave a lot of their memorabilia in exchange for tattoos. Jim Tressel was aware of this happening, kind of swept it under the rug. They went and played in one final game, and they were basically ineligible at that point because the head coach knew about it. They had broken rules, and that deemed them ineligible, which got everything vacated and gave them a postseason ban. So this is the part that I want to hit on. So, like, the NCAA, like, a lot of this stuff happened. So the USC stuff happened 20-plus years ago. The Ohio State stuff happened about 15 years ago. I think if this Michigan stuff would have happened around the same time frame, basically anywhere from about 2000 to probably, 2018, 19, somewhere in that time frame, I think Michigan probably would have had some shit vacated, and I think they probably would have had a postseason ban. Just because the NCAA had a lot more power at that point in time. I mean, if you look at these two scandals, the USC scandal and the tattoo gate, it's basically NIL. They were receiving gifts or exchanging something in return of something else. Now that is just in the form of money or that is in the form of an NIL deal where maybe a car dealership gives a player a car to drive around. But in terms, for me, why I think it is stupid, these two situations, did they break the rules? Yes. Did they deserve to be punished? Yes, because those were the rules at the given time that they happened. I get how college football is today. I completely understand it. It's bullshit for how it is today. Should those wins be reinstated? Obviously Reggie Bush already got his Heisman Trophy back. Should a lot of that stuff be reinstated and go back within history because of how the modern day college football is today? Maybe, but I'm not here to have that conversation. That's not the point that I'm getting at. The point that I'm getting at is a lot of these punishments were off the field type of things that didn't directly impact the outcome of games, where the sign stealing stuff 1,000% had an impact on the game, or Michigan wouldn't have kept doing it. They wouldn't have spent 3 years doing all the things that they did, putting in the effort to get different people to certain stadiums to get the information that they needed. So that is where I draw the line of where I think this thing is so fucking stupid. Like, you had an actual act that directly impacts the outcome of games. And if you want to argue that, you're a complete idiot. Like, if it didn't benefit them in any which way, they wouldn't have done it. They wouldn't have gone through with this whole sign stealing operation, sending people all over the place and that kind of thing. So that's where I stand on it. This had a direct impact on games. The USC scandal, the Tattoo Gate, did not. Different eras of college football, completely different times from one another. But I think Michigan got extremely lucky just at the time in history that this happened.
So, I think with like the Tattoo Gate, with like Terrell Pryor being suspended and then Jim Tressel basically like kind of resigning the year after. I agree with you. Like, I know rules are rules, but it was kind of dumb at the time, and even like now to this day, like, I don't care about it. Like, I don't care that like Ohio State had their wins vacated, or their postseason win against Arkansas in the Sugar Bowl. Like, I know Ohio State like beat Michigan that year. Like, that's not like something in like, I know it's like for like the history books, like there's an asterisk on that, but still in my mind, like, Ohio State still beat Michigan, right? I do agree. Like, if the NCAA, if this would have happened 15 years ago, like, the NCAA would have absolutely hammered Michigan. The only problem is like, so like if you read like the report, like Connor Stalions like he basically tossed his personal phone that he was supposed to turn in to Michigan staff, and I can't remember what the title is. It's like basically it's like a standards officer. Basically like anything that happens at a university and like breaks any of the bylaws, it needs to be reported to the standards officer, and then that standards officer will report that to the NCAA. Right? It's kind of like a quality control, like a QA person, right? So that it was reported to the standards officer, and they were trying to get Connor Stalions' phone, his personal phone, and they told him not to erase anything or basically sabotage it, and he wouldn't like comply. Like, he wasn't compliant at all. So what he did, after the news broke, I guess like he was getting threats or like a lot of messages and what he was seeing online about Connor Stallion, about himself, and he just tossed the fucking phone in a pond, and it went to the bottom of a pond, and that was in a report. So there was a lot of evidence that wasn't talked about because they just didn't have it. Like, they just knew about, from what Connor was saying, that there was a KGB scheme or a sign stealing scheme with KGB members, not actual. Yeah, it's fucking funny, dude. It's literally kangaroo court, and that Connor attended 52 events, and it was for 13 opponents. Like, that, there was no fucking like literally very little evidence of this. It's
Yeah.
fucking dude, it's nuts. But to go on to the point, yes, like Michigan, obviously, if this was like 15 years ago, they would have got butt fucked by the NCAA. Like, no questions about it. Like, just knowing that, like, if the NCAA found about this, like, it would have been over for Michigan for a very long time. They would have been screwed.
I think the part that pisses me off the most about it is how like the tattoo gate fucked Ohio State, not with like vacated wins, but the postseason ban. And I'm all for, like, I agree with the NCAA and the fact of like they don't want to punish current players for actions of past people and past players. I am 100% all for that. I think it's bullshit. You have kids that are falling on the sword for people who ultimately were the ones that made the poor decisions and fucked up in the end. You're making them take the downfall for actions of other people. I agree with that. But the part that pisses me off the most for Ohio State is the year that they had the postseason ban, there was a very, 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 very good chance Ohio State would have had another national championship that year. Ohio State went 12-0 that year, and they would have played the national championship that year was Alabama against Notre Dame, and Alabama beat them like 42-14, something like that. Like Notre Dame, that was the year that they had like Manti Te'o. That was right in the thick of like all the girlfriend type shit and all of that stuff. So that is the part that pisses me off the most. Is Ohio State had a really good chance. I mean, they were 12-0. They would have went to the national championship game that year, and they would have played a poor Notre Dame team. I mean, who knows? You got to go out to the field and play the game. You don't know what the outcome would have been. But on paper, how the game went against Alabama, Ohio State would have been there rather than Alabama. And like Ohio State fans almost feel like that was a national championship that we should have had. We don't have because of this stupid tattoo gate that is now like complete BS with all the NIL or all of that shit that's going on within the sport today, where you almost feel like you kind of got fucked out of a national championship. But, I mean, it is what it is. Like, you can't really go back in history and change it.
I mean, you could, because they gave Reggie Bush his Heisman Trophy back.
Yeah, I know, but you can't really, like, go back and be like, well, Ohio State would have beaten Notre Dame, so now they are actually the national champions. Sorry, Alabama. Like, you can't do that. You have to have, like, Reggie Bush had the Heisman Trophy won already, and they took it away after the fact. You can't go in and do like this theoretical bullshit because you have no idea. Notre Dame might have beat Ohio State's ass.
I mean, you can give the wins back.
You could give the wins back, but I really don't care about the wins. Yeah. They still have the wins from that season. They just couldn't go to the bowl game. They just couldn't go to the national championship. I really don't care. I don't really care about the year that they went 12-1 and won the Sugar Bowl against Arkansas. Like, I don't really care. Like, that was 2010 or whenever it was, 15 years ago. Like, whatever. I'm more pissed off about the 2012 national championship.
Yeah, the 2010 wins, I think, are vacated, like, against Michigan and the entire season.
Well, the funny part was, like, Tressel left after that year, so they had Luke Fickell that came in for the 2011 season. I think that was the year that they went 6-7. Don't quote me on this, but I believe Ohio State had the decision on when they wanted to serve that postseason ban. It could have either been in 2011 or 2012, but Ohio State was dumb as fuck too, and they decided to do it in 2012 whenever you had Urban Meyer coming in. Like, I don't know why you don't just take that postseason ban in the year that you have an interim coach, and you had a lot of coaches leave, a lot of players leave. Like, you lost a lot of pieces for guys that got in trouble. Like, the program was in a really bad place in 2011. So I don't know why you don't take the postseason ban that year. But nonetheless, they took it in 2012. Ohio State would have been in the national championship. Who knows if they would have won, but hey, I mean, you would have had at least a shot at it.
Real quick, Intrinsic said that he wants to join.
Yeah, he can get in here.
All right, let me pull him in.
Real quick, Jeff Koenig, he's left a couple more comments. I want to read that while you get him in here. He said, "Is vacating wins and vacating the championship really that big of a deal?" I say no. Everybody saw them happen. Everybody knows who won those games. And then he goes on to say, like, they still won the championship. You can't take that away. They took Reggie's Heisman, but I never once thought he wasn't the winner. What is the appropriate punishment? Postseason ban is the only thing, in my opinion, that is viable, or loss of scholarships. I think I agree with that. I think that to really have somebody feel the effects of an action that they performed, you have to basically take something away that is in the future. Yeah, I mean, a postseason ban sucks. Like, I don't always think that that's the best solution, but I think like a loss of scholarships would have definitely been something that would have been an okay punishment to give Michigan. I think at that point you're not really fucking anybody over. You're fucking over the program, just their ability to bring more kids in, but you're not giving kids, you're not screwing kids out of an opportunity, basically. Like, if those kids would have gone to Michigan, but Michigan didn't have enough scholarships, these kids still are going to go to high-level Division I schools. You got Intrinsic in here yet?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Hold on. Click the person, top of the icon screen, select the user, blah, 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 fucking boomer. Start a DM chat, add friends.
While Metal gets this brought in, do another ad read to our sponsor, Draft Top. This episode is brought to you by Draft Top, the ultimate tool for beer lovers. If you're tired of drinking out of cans and want to actually taste your drink the way it was meant to be enjoyed, Draft Top is your answer. It's a bar tool that removes the top of your can, turning it into a smooth open cup. That means better aroma, better flavor, and no more drinking through that tiny opening. Perfect for tailgates, watch parties, or just cracking one open of a cold one while you watch Michigan have the hammer dropped on them. Go to drafttop.com and use code DIVIDED at checkout for 10% off. That's drafttop.com. Cut the top off. Enjoy the flow. This will be a good time to get Intrinsic in here. I don't know what exactly he wants to say, but this is our final segment on the night. Will Michigan's 2023 national title be respected across college football? How are things going, Metal? Do you have Intrinsic in here? Metal? Did we lose him? Oh, there he is. There he is. We're good.
Oh. All right,
Hey, you back?
He's here.
Intrinsic. What's up, my guy?
Nothing. How you guys doing?
We're doing all right.
Just talking through this whole Michigan shit. The usual. I'll share my screen with you guys.
I just jumped in because I heard I didn't hear much of your guys' whole call. So with I did hear the part about the bet, right? The bet between Yoder and Nevada and Kirk, I think it was with.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So do you remember like on June 6th what happened with that bet?
So wasn't there the show cause or the COI date? Wasn't there a separate bet for that?
No, so here's what happened. So they made the bet, and then on June 6th, Yoder says, "Pay up. It's Hammer Day. Pay up. You lost the bet." And then so Buckeye Scoop, which I mean I don't think he runs the account, but anyways, Buckeye Scoop was saying, "What do you mean we would never make a bet that the hammer would come on June 6th, right?" And then so there was a dispute over that because they were just basically saying when the punishment comes down. I don't know why they would make a bet on June 6th. So I asked Yoder back then, and so did a bunch of other people, like, can you show where that was agreed upon? It was on June 6th, right? And Yoder never produced proof, and there's no proof on social media. So he was saying pay up, that's when the bet is. And then after that, they didn't agree on bet. I believe Kirk at the time, he jumped onto the Scoop account. I have the screenshots, and he said, "So hey, we never bet that it's on June 6th. Why would we bet before the hearing that they would release the penalties, right? It doesn't make sense. Are we still good for the bet? He asked them, and then he never responded. So what's your guys' thought on that, knowing that happened?
So there was another on the 7th. Scoop said the bet was over under 0.5 wins vacated due to the scandal.
Yeah, did Yoder confirm the bet after that the bet was still on?
So he said responded to his tweet and said, "Why didn't you quote tweet this?"
Okay. So yeah,
And then he
if you
said,
follow those, because my point was that when all that was going down, it looked like Yoder was like, the terms of the bet were June 6th, pay me now. And then there was a big fight about it on Twitter for a couple days. And then so Yoder mentioned today, like, why don't I say something to Buckeye Scoop, which for one, I'm friends with Moses. I go on their show, but regardless, if I felt like Nevada scammed it, I would say something. But to me, it looked like the bet blew up that day because they didn't agree on the terms.
so there, I'll send you this. I'll send it to you in the X.
Yeah, and because I responded to Yoder today, I'm like, I told him, hey, like, from my understanding, the bet fell apart on June 6th and 7th because you guys didn't agree on the terms. And
What
he
did
was explicitly asked if the bet's still on, and Yoder never responded.
what
So
did Yoder say back to you? Or did he not reply?
He hasn't replied to it yet, so that's what I was looking for. So hold on, so we see that's the initial bet, right, on 131.
so maybe is that what he's talking
No,
about? Like
no,
that bet?
yeah. So they had a bet and they upped it to $2,500. So here I can show you the screenshots because I have them here. Um, Let me send you them. So I responded to Yoder with these. So I'm like, I mean, all for you. You make a bet, you need to pay your bet. Like, obviously.
Right. I know
So
Dylan's
here's where
working there right now. He's been paying people out.
I think. So there's two of them. Trying to think, I should have one more in here because one of them it's like Kirk because he didn't jump on the account, and then I think here's the last one. So those are the three screenshots I just sent you. Uh, and so if I can read through them. So what happened was there's a fallout, right? And then they're sitting here debating it, and they're like, for instance, Buckeye Scoop says, in the middle of the trial, see you when they render the verdict. You're better than this. Plus, we know our terms. We never said anything, as Yusuf says, the bat is graded in the middle of the hearing. You know you are cooked, or else raise it to 20, or else raise it to the 2,500 we propose. And he's like, Yoder says, you lost the bet, which was your hammer day of June 6th. This is pathetic. Some people have class and dignity, some don't. And then and another one he says, where was it?
So are you
I feel
saying
like I
that
said,
Buckeye Scoop basically like canceled the bet then on June 6th?
what? It looked like the bet fell apart because they both sides didn't have they had an agreement on the initial bet, but on June 6th, Yoder says the bet's over, pay me. You see what I'm saying?
So
Yeah.
And this
so
was
okay,
before
so
there was a verdict or anything. So it's almost like they didn't agree to terms at that point, and the bet fell
so they
apart. Unless
I
Yoder
feel like
has proof, if Yoder has proof that the bet was for June 6th, or proof that they continued the bet and agreed on the terms to continue, because I remember hearing Nevada after that had happened out that the bet was off.
so like what happened January 31st then? Like what's this the official
They
bet
made the
over or
bet.
under?
Yeah, so
So but then
they
they
made an
canceled it?
official bet. And if you look at the official bet, nowhere does it say the bet is June 6th, right? It just
Yeah,
says we're making a bet on the penalties. And then on June 6th, on the COI hearing day, like literally the day the hearing starts, Yoder says, I won the bet, pay me.
yeah, I don't understand that. I remember
That
seeing that, but
that's the
I thought
part
that was
he's
like something
missing.
different.
Yeah, no, he's literally saying, this is the bet, pay me my money. And then Buckeye Scoop, they go back and forth for 2 days, like, you didn't pay me this bet. Like I never made that bet. So to
So
me,
what
it's
was
like they both disagreed on the bet, and so therefore the bet was done. Like, cause I remember I asked, and everyone asked, Yoder, where's the proof on June 6th? Because literally doesn't make sense to make the bet for the day of the COI hearing, because it doesn't. The hearing, like, literally is just you hear the sides. It's not when the penalties come down. So it's almost like Yoder. I can't read Yoder's mind, and he's never provided proof that the bet was on June 6th. But it looks to me like that bet fell apart on June 6th and June 7th.
yeah, I don't. I mean, so this is a weird gray area
Yeah.
because like they initialized the bet in January and then they increased it in May to 2,500, and I don't think Scoop agreed upon the terms back in May 8th. I don't fucking know. Whatever. It doesn't
Yeah, so
matter.
anyways, it's like midway through the bet, okay. Yoder's basically saying the bet's over, you need to pay me. And then Scoop's freaking out, like, that's not the terms. You better like count this in for when the penalties are actually released. We never agreed to that, yada yada. And then he asked I'm trying to see if it's in one of these ones. He said one of them, maybe it's not in this one. He basically says, "Are you still good for the bet?" Like after they had this disagreement, and Yoder never said he's still good for the bet. So at my point, the bet's over with at that point. Like just think of it practically. Like if I made a bet with you, and then halfway through I'm saying I won the bet, pay me, and you're like, "That's not the bet." And then next thing I know, I'm like, "No, you owe me money, pay me." And then you're like, no, the bet was this. And you ask me, hey, intrinsic, are you still good for the bet? And I don't say anything.
I mean, I think I think if before like the ruling comes out, like I would probably say something to you, or even like I would have a conversation with you about it, like, hey, what was the terms that we were betting on before? You know?
Yeah, you would have some type of clarification. But
Yeah.
that's the only wrinkles. So I mean, I don't care like if Nevada pays the bet or doesn't pay the bet. It honestly makes no difference to me. Like, but it just when this happened, that's the part that I don't get that Yoder's not talking about. And I asked him today about it. Because I'm like, because he
Why
asked me why
isn't
I don't say something about it, and I'm like, well, because literally, like, it looks like the bet fell apart on June 6th and June 7th, and I know that on Buckeye Scoop, Nevada said the bet's off, like, so
he said it was off? Like recently, he said it was off.
no, he said it was off literally after this had happened. Like, I don't know if it was a show on June 7th or June 8th. He's like, the bet's off. Like, we never agreed to bet on June 6th and June 7th, and clearly he's not being serious, so the bet's off.
Uh, Whatever.
So, anyways, there's more
I don't know.
nuance to that whole.
I saw
There's
the
no.
fucking tweet
There's
that
more.
said over under half a win being vacated, and I saw that's where
Yeah.
they agreed to. I don't really know. I don't really care, to be completely honest. I just know that Buckeye Scoop definitely ran with this bullshit for a really long time, and they basically had it blow up in their face. I mean, I know that you put a lot of content out there around this. I know that Spiro did as well, but I think that you guys actually had substance to a lot of the things that you were saying. But yeah, I don't know about this fucking bet. I see Yoder constantly tweeting about it. I saw the thing about the half win being vacated, the $500 bet, yada yada yada. Beyond that, I don't really know.
Yeah, well, that's what I told Yoder. I'm like, for one thing, you're trying to rope me into it. I never made this bet, and my friend that's on the show didn't bet with you. Moses is who I know on the show. Like, he didn't bet with you. But regardless, it's real interesting. Yoder's doesn't mention like what happened on June 6th and June 7th, because to me, like, if all of a sudden both parties aren't agreeing on the terms of the bet anymore, how's the bet still on? Just practically. It just seems like they had a falling out June 6th and June 7th when he said the bet would be paid. But anyways, so what else were you guys talking about?
So the last
In a
part.
nutshell,
Go ahead,
go ahead.
Metal. I mean, we basically have hit on this from every angle. From what the punishments were, we talked a little bit about Scoop, compared it to a little bit to the tattoo gate, the stuff at USC. Basically, have come to the conclusion if this was like 10 to 15 years ago, I think the NCAA is spineless today, and it knows that they don't have power, knows that they're losing power. So we basically have both agreed that if this was 10 to 15 years ago, I think Michigan 100% gets hammered. But with the brand that Michigan is, with the postseason revenue that they bring in, and kind of the NCAA already realizing that they are a dying organization, I think that they looked at this and said if we go out and vacate a national championship, or if we give scholarship reductions, or if we give postseason bans, this is probably only going to expedite our death. And to do this to a huge organization like Michigan is ultimately going to be take like the bigger organizations, the bigger dogs that are in college football, just trying to get the NCAA out of the way and get them completely done forever. And then for this last part, we're moving on to the legitimacy of the title.
Okay, so yeah, I did catch a little bit with so for one thing, the NCAA and COI are different. Okay, so the NCAA in this case, they were demanding a postseason ban. That was reported by Ross Dellinger, very solid reporter, very accurate reporter. He reported, this was the day before the penalties came down, that the NCAA was demanding a 2-year postseason ban. Or not, he didn't say the years, but they were demanding a postseason ban, and that's why it went to the COI. So during negotiations, the NCAA definitely was looking for a postseason ban. Now, 2023 Tennessee, they avoided a postseason ban because of exemplary cooperation. And in doing so, they rewrote the bylaws for exemplary cooperation, and they clarified in the Constitution when postseason bans should be applied. Because they also have in the Constitution punishing current players. So they've updated the Constitution after Tennessee to basically state that postseason bans are to be applied when there's not exemplary cooperation in light of punishing current players. So they had everything lined up to do a postseason ban. The COI just made a decision not to do it, which is a group of volunteers that's appointed by the NCAA, but they're also independent. These are not like NCAA staff members; they just volunteer. So
Like a jury,
they
But if
kind of.
if the NCAA is the governing body of college football, couldn't they tell the COI to fuck off and overrule that? Like, no, we're giving a
nope,
postseason ban.
nope. No, they cannot. And they said they set it up that way so they're because here's the thing, if the NCAA all of a sudden starts hating you, then their decisions aren't fair,
Yeah, it's
right?
biased at that
So
point.
that's why they have a group of volunteers who are like, you know, ex-presidents of university, like they're normally like Ivy League people, and they make up a group and they come to like a majority consensus. Or actually, I think they all have to come to the same consensus. Regardless, they're volunteers. They're not the NCAA. So what I would say is the COI made the decision. Why they made the decision isn't clear, and it's not according to their bylaws that were updated after the Tennessee case. And you have the NCAA demanding a postseason ban going into it. So the postseason ban was very relevant, but the COI just basically killed postseason bans like until there's a new governing body. So I just think there's some more nuance to it. Now,
So
why the COI made that decision?
yeah,
Maybe
why did they decide why didn't they want a postseason ban then?
yeah, I think the COI was clearly influenced. I don't have any proof on that, but they deviated from the bylaws. That was the first time in history an aggravated level one at an institution wasn't a postseason ban. Like they have core penalties for it. Like when it first got leaked that they were gonna avoid a postseason ban, I thought that the case got moved down to standard because Tennessee's got moved down to standard, and that's why they didn't because of exemplary cooperation. But Ross Dellinger, I mean, but it turned out to be an aggravated level one. So they literally just deviated. And they even mentioned in the decision, this is deserving of a 2-year postseason ban, which is exactly what I guessed. They just deviated from the penalties. So I just think there's some nuance there. So uh but also to the COI, like for instance, did you see their argument on the vacated games?
Yeah.
What they said? They go, Norman Bay, who's regardless, Norman Bay, one of the COI members, said it's only for ineligible players. When literally, right, that's not even in their bylaws. It says it can be for more things than ineligible players. It doesn't say only. Like I looked at that as well. My big thing was the 2-year postseason ban because I thought that was so cut and dry and it was their core penalties. But I still viewed it as this is what's probably going to happen instead of 100% certain, but that thought it would probably happen. So
You know, it's funny because like there was a lot of like Michigan fans that would say that they wouldn't vacate bans or vacate games because of there wasn't any ineligible players.
yeah, and then Norman Bay goes out and says that, but the college football nerds, are you guys familiar with them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a pretty big brand and they're SEC fans, but they broke down so they're like, so if you mean to tell me, look at how stupid this is. If you were to bribe an official, you're telling me they couldn't vacate the wins because there wasn't an eligible player? And that's why like they purposely leave some of these that's why it's under the additional penalty sections under the ineligible players. And they did a good job of breaking that down. And so it just from my guy who has NCAA contacts and helped me come up with the legal argument for it. They were the people that he knows who works in the NCAA. They were really shocked at them not interpreting the bylaws correctly. But regardless, it does pave a precedent forward. There's no more postseason banned, and
They,
basically they can't issue any punishment with teeth anymore. They basically cut their balls off.
so like during the like does the COI have like someone a representative of the NCAA to break down these bylaws for them to understand
No,
like
like
while they're
no
doing
one's
the
in.
process?
I don't
Because
know
like
if ahead of
I know like
time.
I read it. I know like I read in the report that uh, that they were talking about the science stealings bylaws, the advanced scouting, how Connor's interpretation was it was gray other than black and white, and how they were going to approach the I think it was the chief standards officer or whoever the uh some you know who it is intrinsic.
Oh
It's the
yeah,
chief
you're talking this was at Michigan. They have a
yeah
compliance director, and they
right
said she did
compliance
a
director
really
yeah
good. They said she was really well known in this space, and
yeah
she was like well respected. But she was like chasing Connor down in the hallways to get his cell phone and
yeah
stuff, and he wouldn't hand it over. So it sounds like she was
compliance
trying to do a
officer
good job,
whoever
but they
the
didn't empower her,
uh
which is when
some
we went over
I,
the failure to
you know
monitor discussion that was
yeah
part of it, is the breakdowns
but
in compliance.
yeah so like in the report it talks about how they were gonna approach her about basically the steam that they brought up in and how she would have denied it because like they were going to her for her interpretation of these rules but
Yeah, so the
yeah
compliance, so at each school, the compliance officer, they're supposed the director of compliance is supposed to know the rules in and out. And if she doesn't know, so say like it's a gray area or whatnot, they're supposed to come like say you're a coach and you're about to go do something, but you're not sure if it violates a rule. You're supposed to go to your compliance director, and they either know if it does or they reach out to someone in the NCAA who tells them if it is or not. Does that
yeah
make sense? Okay.
no
Yeah.
I knew that I was just it was just like if the COI doesn't have anyone there to break down these rules and because I mean this is all legal jargon right like you're reading these documentations and Obviously, like some of the stuff is up for interpretation, but you need to have someone there from the NCAA to say, "Hey, no, this is what this means. Like you shall do this. There is no
We'll see.
may."
Well, see, the thing is when uh when the NCAA hands over their investigation to the COI, they have all the bylaws that they're referencing for the COI to look into. So like I don't the thing is I don't know. I guess we'll see when the NOA comes out and the response NOA when those documents come out if the NCAA was asking for vacated wins or not. I don't know if they were. Maybe the NCAA wasn't even looking to vacate wins. Um, but it is
Is it
under
is
additional
it
penalties if they want to.
is it true that they wanted a postseason ban, or is that just like rumors?
No, it's Ross Dellinger reported. I have a clip of it. If you want it, I can send it to you right now. And Ross
No, it's
Dellinger, if you're not familiar with Ross Dellinger, he's not like,
yeah, I know he is.
he's not some lunatic.
He's
This
the
guy's like very well respected for
he
Yahoo Sports.
he's the one who had the Noah article earlier this year or late last year. I don't remember when, but yeah, I know who he is.
Well, he had Michigan's response anyway. So when
Yeah,
I when
that's
I
what it was.
got when I got convinced this is going to be a postseason ban, a lot of it was from that response NOA because that was
Yeah,
leaked to Ross Dellinger, and in there he says exaggerates aggravating factors and ignores mitigating factors. So I interpreted that correctly. I interpreted that is that they were NCAA was asking for a postseason ban, and then he went on the day before and then said yes, in fact they were asking for a postseason ban several times, and that's why this ultimately went to a hearing. Is because Michigan was not going to take the postseason ban. They'd rather have a chance that the COI would be more lenient, and they were more lenient. And I don't know, and it's a core penalty. You got to understand it's a core penalty. So for them to deviate, because it says shall be prescribed under core penalties. So
right.
like me and my guy, like I can even show you a post before the penalties were broke out. We broke out the Josh Pate argument about what
The
Divided's talking
viewership.
about. Well, yeah, what Divided's talking about is that this is going to be because of viewership and whatnot. And I even went over the specific sections like in the Constitution and why I didn't view it as likely because it literally is saying it shall be prescribed. Like they're not supposed to be deviating from core penalties and punishments. And they didn't for anything but that. So it was a very strange decision for them to make because they had updated in the bylaws after the Tennessee case, like that was I think that was settled in 23, and this was in the 24-25 handbook that basically postseason bans are still on the table if you don't have exemplary cooperation. Because they're trying to the idea what they're trying to do is they're trying to reward they don't want to punish current players, but they want to reward cooperation because the whole model exists on cooperation. So but I mean, regardless, it fell how it fell. Um, and we'll just have to see what that means for college football moving forward.
So what do you guys think is the outlook on the 2023 Michigan football team? I know
Real
that
quick
they're
before you do that,
yep.
divided before you do that, unplug your Focusrite and plug it back in. Interface.
Starting to get a little choppy.
Yeah, you're good
Yeah,
now.
you're good now.
All right, perfect. So what do you guys think is the outlook on the 2023 Michigan football team? I know so my opinion is in my eyes it is legitimate. In my eyes I think that they were a very good football team. I think that they had a lot of players that they sent to the NFL. There was undoubtedly a lot of talent on that team. Did they have some things that happened along the way that helped them over the course of 3 years get to that spot? Yes. I think knowing what the other team is running, knowing the plays that they're running, knowing their signs, however way you want to describe it, I think that is going to only help you rather than hurt you. And I think for me, it is legitimate in my eyes, but I think that there's always that yeah, but they had the Connor Stallions thing. Yeah, but there was a gray cloud that was lingering over the program, that they had a sign stealing scandal that came out of that time period within Michigan. And to my complete honesty, I think that is going to be the outlook for everybody, at least on a national scale for college football. I think that Michigan is going to forever spend the rest of their existence defending this title. I think that even 50 years from now, people are going to say Michigan won a title in 23. And it's going to be, oh, yeah, but they had a really weird sign-stealing, cheating scandal that was going on during that time. And I think Michigan fans are ultimately, I think they're going to have to battle this for the rest of eternity. I think this is something that is not ever going to go away. And that was my whole point. I didn't really care what the punishments were, whether they got a ban here, they got this vacate. I don't really care. Like, the fact was that they cheated. To me, it's legitimate. But for them, as an overarching outlook to just the college football world, they're going to be defending this title literally until the end. I mean, you've heard some of the biggest names in college football come out and say some things about it. It's not just Ohio State fans. It's not just Michigan State fans. I've seen anywhere from Penn State fans, Alabama fans, Tennessee fans. Josh Pate made a comment about it. Obviously, we saw the whatever the hell he is, Paul Feinbaum, trying to think of the naked mole rat looking fucker down in SEC country, Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah, Jim Rome too.
Jim Rome made a comment about it. So I think, in my opinion, I think this is going to be a title that, Metal, I apologize, but to be completely honest, I think this is something you guys are probably going to have to defend for the rest of eternity. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand. What do you guys think?
Well, where I'm at is I think I think the team was good. I think that team was clearly really good. I think it's a shame that they had cheated during that season because maybe they could have just won it all on their own. And it's malpractice on their coaching staff letting this go on. That's what my position is. But as far as the public perception, I think there's two big problems. For one, people who aren't, tied into the rivalry, they're not like eyes on Michigan every week. They see a coach get suspended in the middle of the season for cheating, right? They then see um so that was unprecedented action mid-season taken for a coach for cheating. They then see years later basically that poor report because they're not like me keeping an eye on every little update in this thing, but they then see the report come down, which that report was damning as far as everything that went on there, and they then see a coach with 14 years of show causes, and then they see a Michigan fan base celebrating that because I think part of it is the Michigan fan base was celebrating the penalty so much is because people like me, I was pushing for this is going to be a postseason ban. I think it's very probable it's going to be a postseason ban, and it kind of created infighting between Michigan fans and Ohio State fans and Michigan State fans. So when the punishment came down, they avoided a postseason ban or any type of vacated games. Then Michigan fans started celebrating that it was light, and I think nationally it brought back all those memories of Michigan cheating mid-season with a coach saying he's above reprieve. If you cheat to win, you've already lost. Everything that Harbaugh supposedly stand for as a Michigan man, a man of integrity, a man of honesty, got I think it just brought back all that shit. And you could see across the country that people are not, I mean, it's up to each individual how they feel about it, but definitely a lot of people do not view that as a legitimate title. I clearly don't, but I'm a Michigan State fan. I'm really biased towards it. But I think your average person sees
Argument.
what's that?
There goes the argument, the bias.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say it's illegitimate, but we're talking about how people think about perspective. When I think when people look at it, they're gonna see just basics what happened. They got convicted of cheating. The coach was suspended mid-year for cheating. The title is illegitimate, and I think that's how they're gonna think.
Do you guys really think that like Michigan needed to cheat to beat East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana, and Michigan State and Purdue?
Well,
Well,
the
actually,
reason
not Michigan State. It was East Carolina through Indiana.
No, I mean any
Do you,
game
do you
that
guys think they needed-
they were more talented. They didn't matter if they knew the signs or not. It mattered when you got on a level playing field with equal talent. That's where the advantages came into play.
but games, see, the thing is with college football, and this is for all sports, but especially college sports, is you lose games you should not lose, right? And when you have a competitive advantage from sign stealing, the probability of you losing those games, say if it's even 5%, like you're 20-1 favorite or something, it definitely bumps it down all of a sudden to like 1% or less. Like that's my problem because you can lose any game any week. Like Rutgers, for instance, was a tough game for Michigan. Like in the first half at least, right? Like so my thing is it's almost like an insurance policy that you for sure don't lose to these teams that you shouldn't lose to. So that's why I don't think like you can just take, okay, we won 8 games in a row, that makes the whole thing legitimate because you were given the 6 games before through cheating, or the 7 games before through cheating. I think that's how it worked out. There was 7 and 8, I think.
But I mean, the second half of their schedule, they played Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State, and then went and beat Iowa, Alabama, and Washington.
Yeah,
So like
they played the tougher teams. I definitely agree they played the tougher teams, but you guys understand they legally scouted those teams too.
they didn't have Harbaugh or Stallions on the team at all. And then like sure, you want to take
They,
this as you want, take it at face value, but in the report it said that Stallions didn't have much involvement with Minter. Like
I mean,
I guess the much of the play calling that 5% of his signs that he deciphered they were using.
okay, so they said in the report that they will never know the depths of the involvement or
Right.
the amount of competitive advantage gained because the evidence is in the bottom of the lake.
Right.
So they don't know all the details of who knew what, how much they knew, because that evidence was destroyed.
So
And
like Michigan State huddled the entire game and they lost 49-0.
so, for one, that's one of Michigan State's worst teams in forever. I think you guys win that game no matter what. But I would
Right.
argue the fact that all of a sudden Michigan needs to run a huddle offense changes their ability. Say they were a team that was like just as good that year, or maybe a little bit worse. Needing to change your entire offense to a huddle offense is kind of a problem, I would say. It just shows you it impacted the game.
I mean it changes the tempo a little bit.
I think it changes it a lot because all of a sudden you can't you can't run your offense like you normally run like against every other team. And next thing you know, you have to huddle. It just changes everything. Like I think even Stallions said in his thing was you had to huddle against us. So like even if you wanted a 2-minute drill, like you couldn't even run a 2-minute drill. And some teams just have a high tempo offense. Like that's just how they this is how they play. So I
He
don't know.
said
Bottom
it's a common practice among college football teams because of high tempo. That like you'd have basically the play callers on giving the signals to the receivers on offense and defense. So where like they didn't need to huddle at all.
Yeah, I mean, well, 2-minute offense, they don't even huddle. So I just think though, I don't think anyone has a problem with if you're in the game and you're looking across the sideline and you see like, oh, if this guy does this gesture, it means this, and you pick that up in game. or you pick up any other telling game. Like if a player is doing something goofy before a snap and that means something, that's all part of the game. But it's the fact that he was able to record directly the sidelines and then decrypt all the signs for that team, that was the advantage because he knew all that before the game going in. And there's already been pieces on all 22 film. It's cut out. You cannot see all the signs. During the TV broadcast, you cannot see all the signs. Like, and Stallions needed to do that so he could record all the signs and then look back, match it to the plays, so he would have a very, very accurate read on what the signaling systems were for each team. So that's
Wasn't
where
it
the advantage was.
wasn't it confirmed that Ohio State had Michigan signals, and that's why there was the cat and mouse game? Because I remember like reading about this, and this came out actually a couple days ago, that there was the Ohio State offense versus defense 2018-2024, to where the cat and mouse and cat stalemate and mouse, which basically talks about who was signaling first, and that Ohio State was the one, or Michigan was the one that was signaling first from 2018 to 2019, and that's why a lot of Don Brown's like defense just got fucking exposed. Was because of we were basically giving out signals first, and they were deciphered by Ohio State. Not saying that Ohio State illegally stole signs, but that during that time there was they had someone on Ohio State was deciphering Michigan signals like right then and there. I don't know if you guys saw that or not. I can send you
Was
guys a
it?
post.
I
So
did.
was it
I think
live
that's
though?
pretty. Yeah, it was. It was live during the game. I mean, it was the same thing that Clemson always did. It's not the fact of stealing signs. It was the fact of how Michigan went about acquiring the signs. Stealing
No, I
signs
can
has
understand that.
always been like baseball, for instance. Like that's always been a thing
Yeah.
since day one. Like Ohio State, yeah, I'm sure that they did have signs or somebody that would sit there and decipher what Michigan's signs were. But I also think those Ohio State teams are fucking way on another different level than what those Michigan teams were, and Michigan leveled up the past few years. Whether Ohio State had Michigan signs or not, I still think they were kicking their teeth in by 20, 30 points.
Yeah, so see, I don't think anyone has a problem with the gamesmanship of stealing signs in the game. It's when you record the sidelines, like the information gets that much more accurate, and you go into the game already knowing it, so you don't have to figure it out on the fly. So, and I don't think you can completely figure it out. Like, I don't think you could figure out every single sign and every single nuance of someone's signaling system in the midst of a game. Because for one, your memory's
No.
not as strong, and for two, you can't just pair it up. Like, there's a reason Stallions was doing it. Like, being able to decrypt everything and put it together, like, would allow you to have extremely accurate information on the signaling system. And teams can't change signs week to week. I mean, you're talking about kids. I mean, I don't know how much football you guys play. We would have signs, obviously not to the level of these like elite programs, but when there's no way each week everyone's going to remember brand new signs for everything to throw off. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm glad there's helmet comms now. Like, obviously that was needed. When Stallion says this was something that should have been done a long time ago, I mean, I agree with that. But I also agree that like there has to be some type of sportsmanship to sports where, hey, these are the rules. Like, we're not gonna go to that level because because what I mean, if we're getting into rumors like about signs being stolen, like supposedly in certain games, Michigan was worse at like going after each play. Like against East Carolina, how much did Stallions scout East Carolina and how much was it used? I mean, from what heard, now it's just from what I heard, it
I
doesn't
hope
mean
he
it's
didn't spend
right.
any time on it.
Yeah, from my they probably didn't care about stealing signals and being in the right formation versus East Carolina. But for games like 22 Ohio State, they were always in. Even heard Jack Sawyer said it was weird because like they just were always correctly guessing and properly lined up. Now, does that mean you can always stop it? No, because there's football, right? It's still football. I mean, you could know the play coming and still not stop it. So, I mean, I'd like to say that with my Sparties, and last year, freaking when Orgy got the ball, like it's clear he was gonna run, and we didn't stop that. So, which was freaking annoying. But yeah, I think
that's
that's
an obvious given sign the way it is if Orgy's under center. He's
Yeah,
obviously
if
not
Orgy's
I know,
throwing
but
done
we
that,
were right,
we
but we didn't. I'm telling you, we didn't. We acted like Warren was still at quarterback. That was so frustrating. He bopped like a 30-yard run and bopped like every time, like 3rd and 8, Orgy goes in, quarterback draw. Like it's like no shit.
Yeah.
It's a quarterback draw.
I think
Orgy's in.
he
He can't throw.
I think he broke one against Ohio State too, and it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? You know he's
fucking
fucking
close.
keeping it. He's either handing it off or he's keeping it. Like he's not fucking airing this bitch out.
Oh, yeah.
Send all
Well,
11 into the box.
I swear- so
If he
he
was
didn't
faster, he would've
pass.
built that one.
He didn't pass versus Michigan State. But I'm pretty sure he went to make a pass versus Ohio State. And that ball, maybe it wasn't Ohio State, but the ball was way off. And it was like he's not throwing another pass this entire game after he did that. It was like I feel like it was a ball out to the left, like on like a goal route, like a sideline throw, and it was like such a
It
bad
was during
miss
the Texas
inside.
game. It was a
Texas.
Texas
Okay, it was a
game.
Texas.
Yeah,
You
it hit
know,
the
you know what
fucking
I'm
ground.
talking
I was like,
about. Yeah, it was
no,
awful. Okay, Texas.
it was the UNLV game. No, not UNLV. Who? No, it was the Fresno State game that he fucking threw the ball to the ground, and it was I don't know. I think it was Texas. We could be right on that. It might be Texas, but like it literally just hit the ground like 5 yards before the receiver. I was like,
I
oh my
did.
god, we're
I
fucked.
I've never seen that. I'm like he's never.
Like
Well,
we
it's
are
like
fucked.
sometimes. What's funny when they have like a punter or somebody runs a trick play and they throw a pass or
Yeah.
like a wide receiver
It's
reverse
like that.
pass. It's like they throw a pretty good pass sometimes. It's like man, he
Yeah.
couldn't throw at all.
It's gonna hit the fucking wide side of a barn. So like my opinion on this, right? Like I know, like I'm gonna try and be as objective as possible on this. So I brought up like Michigan played, shit teams, East Carolina, UNLV, blah blah blah. They were all bad that year, right? I don't think Michigan really needed to steal signals for these teams. They were gonna beat them regardless, just because of what their program is and who they were that year and how bad they were, right? Getting up to Penn State, run the ball 32 consecutive times. JJ McCarthy has a bum fucking leg that day, and we still beat them. Struggled against Maryland at Maryland, then beat Ohio State, beat Iowa, go on to win a national championship. So, I think the team itself, I think we were really good. Even like from the 21 team all the way to the 23 team. I mean, it was just a huge like change in the offensive line culture and then the defensive culture, like getting Mike McDonald, getting Jesse Minter, having all these basically turned 3 stars into 5 stars with Mikey Sandershill, Rod Moore, Will Johnson, and so on and so forth. I just a really strong defensive emphasis, and the Ravens culture that was brought over from the NFL stuck to Michigan and worked really well. Um, for like the public opinion, I really don't fucking care. Uh, it really doesn't bother to me. Like, I mean, people are gonna say shit anyways. Like, I've like even from like the 2021 win against Ohio State, like I've heard Ohio State fans say that the reason why they lost was because of fucking snow, or CJ Stroud had the flu, right? Like it doesn't bother me. Um, you kind of can like compare these to like the Houston Astros, like with their trash can sign stealing signal. If you look at their like their season that year, they won more away games than they won home games. Like they won 53 away games and they only won 48 home games. So like they were good regardless of the trash can saga. And like it just doesn't really bother me. Like I mean people are going to talk shit regardless. I just really don't care.
Well, I
Like
do know
in
they interviewed. It was like 50
for
coaches. They interviewed 50 coaches on what their view was on Michigan's sign stealing scheme, how much it was worth, and 37 of them said anywhere between the range of 3 to 7 points, and the other 13 said basically said they have no way of calculating it. None of them said it was not an advantage. So the coaches that they interviewed for that New York Times piece all came to the conclusion that it provided an advantage. And like I think if you look at titles that were vacated, like one ineligible player vacates the whole thing. I mean, I feel like if there's some type of competitive advantage in a game, you should vacate those games, especially because you do it if a single player who might not even be much of a key player in the game is ineligible for
Mm.
some reason, everything's vacated. But that's why some of the NCAA stuff doesn't make sense. But I mean,
No,
regardless,
it doesn't.
I think even if they did vacate it, I still don't think it would change the opinion of Michigan fans on that season, nor would it change the
No.
opinion. It would change the opinion of some people, but I think most people have their mind made up about
Yeah.
it,
Yep.
and and I know that you metal are not insecure about it, but I think a lot of Michigan fans are insecure because there's not a lot of validation from the country in that title, with the coach being suspended twice that year, and with this, I mean, that damning report. And I do think a lot of Michigan fans, got caught up in the hammer's coming, the hammer's not coming, the hammer didn't come, and then next thing you know, it's a celebration like towards your rivals, not understanding the rest of the country doesn't even know about the hammer. I mean, a lot of people I talk to that like I even talked to Michigan fans. They had no idea about the NCAA stuff because it was so long ago. They just literally was not in their mind at all.
I
So I
think
think, well, yeah, go
I
ahead.
think like I don't mean to cut you off. I feel like the Twitterverse and Xverse is literally just like a small portion of what the fan base is. And like if I talk to my dad or like my brothers about like the sign stealing stuff, they don't know anything about it. Like they don't know anything about the NCAA. Besides like what they see on the news and like what's reported by like Pete Thamel and like on other talk shows, right? So like I don't think people really care, if that makes sense.
No,
Like
Yeah.
it's good
I don't think,
information.
yeah.
Like it is good information, like to know all that stuff. Um, it's just like if you're not invested into any of it, like why, why would like some random Joe Schmo be like, well, I should really like look into this stuff, if they don't get anything out of it, and
But
that's probably why like people don't give a shit.
I also think that probably plays into why, like, your average fan who doesn't care about Ohio State, Michigan State, or Michigan is just going to be like, yeah, but they cheated during that time because that's just what the headlines
Yeah,
say. That's just what they've always known.
right.
That's what's just been surrounded around that Michigan team during that time frame. I completely understand your argument of like Stallions wasn't even around for the second half of the season. We went on to beat all these teams, and I mean, like, Michigan deserves all the credit in the world. I know, Metal, you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. Like, we both agree that that team had a good enough players and good enough coaches. They didn't need sign stealing to win the national championship. I think we both agree on that. My point
Yeah,
is, like, as you go through history and as time goes on, this is going to be something that is just always going to follow Michigan football, especially whenever they talk about the 2023 team. And that's something that you guys are always going to have to defend. Now, I agree 1000% with you. If I was a Michigan fan, I would not give one single fuck about what anybody says. I wouldn't even try to get into any kind of argument with somebody on it because it's just going to be a round and round and round argument. Yeah, but this, yeah, but that, yada, 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 that nobody's ever going to win. That's just a reality of the national championship. It's not going to be respected on a national scale to a lot of average football fans out there or any football fans that are just know their shit for that fact of the matter. I think it's just always going to be something you guys are going to have to defend in the end.
I don't
Yeah.
know necessarily like besides like I mean I talked to maybe this is anecdotal information, but like I'll talk to like a couple of people that I work with that like are from SEC Nation and like they're huge Alabama fans and like I've never had like one conversation about like sign stealing stuff. I mean it's anecdotal, but I mean, someone on Twitter, yeah, fucking course, because they're gonna see this all the time, and this is what's gonna get them engagement and shit. All you gotta do is just put Michigan cheated, and then boom, you're gonna get a bunch of pissed off Michigan fans, and then you're gonna get other fans on the opposing side, rallying with you that you said Michigan cheated, and you're all agreeing on something. So like, I mean, it's not like if like 25 years from now and someone said, hey, Michigan cheated for that, I'm like, all right, cool, good for you, bud. I mean, some people can literally like probably sitting in their room like, dwelling about this stuff that Michigan was found to be violating NCAA bylaws in the advanced scouting. But I feel like majority of people just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just think though, like if you do get into the discussion, I think Divide's completely right. People are just going to be like, yeah, that was the year they're cheating, and I think what I seen this take today, and I agree with that, is that it's, you gotta continue the success for even people to even really believe it at all. Like the last year, you go 8-5. I understand you lose a bunch of guys, but there's still, I mean, there are still a lot of good guys on that team. And so if Moore's not able to continue any type of success at Michigan, it's sure going to look like, oh, wow, they were just good during the years they cheated, and they're back to who they were before when they're not.
I mean, the last half of the season, Michigan had the best defense in all of college football.
I mean, you could say that, but it doesn't matter. They went 8-5.
I
Like
know, but they had no quarterback.
it's
We had
still
a
eight and
we had a
five. It's
fucking
still
a
8.
lawyer, a doctor, a lawyer slash poli sci graduate as a quarterback, and then we had a cancer survivor and a dude that couldn't throw a forward pass.
But there's a portal, and you guys have money,
Yeah, we
so
didn't do anything. I don't know why. They should have went after people.
well, that's the thing. Like, if you notice, a lot of these teams, like, okay, Ohio State's an example, but Alabama teams are. I posted something out today. The majority of time after a team wins a national championship, their next season, I'm sure they may not win the Natty the next season, but they're not losing 5 games. It's happened 3 times since 2008. So my point is, Michigan needs to start having success to prove that they are actually on that level outside of this cheating scheme, because it sure looks like they're not on that level outside of when they're in this cheating era. Because I do believe part of what the reason that 23 team was built up so much is because, yes, there's a lot of good players that are on that team, but there's also 12 players that stayed that could have went earlier, but they mentioned staying in part for reasons that were related to NIL, and so it's hard to know exactly how many players stayed, especially if some players knew that they were able to cheat. So you kind of build up success, which keeps players coming to your program and keeps players staying and not transferring. Like imagine like if all of a sudden they were performing like Michigan State's been performing, players are gonna leave and go somewhere where they're gonna win. Right. So success definitely keeps players and helps bring in money, which helps you keep players and bring more players in.
Well, I mean, you also
So
look at us too. Like we just won a national championship too. So like you have your offensive coordinator that just got promoted to being head coach. You still got Colson Lovell and Will Johnson that decided to stay, and so did Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Um, which I don't think. No, Grant and Graham couldn't leave. I don't think Will Johnson could leave either. I don't think Colson Lovell could leave at all. Um, but I mean, some of the people that decided to stay and not go through the transfer portal. I mean, we just came off a national championship, and also we just got Wink Martindale, the godfather of the Ravens defense. And there was a lot of hopes and dreams with Orgy at quarterback. And I remember, I actually I don't remember who exactly said this, but one of the Michigan beat writers, who's a fucking idiot, said that that Alex Orgy it looks like Cam Newton out there during like training camp, and I want to
That
find
was a
that
good
person.
one. That was a good one.
I want to fucking find that person, and I want to tell him that he's a fucking idiot. Like God.
Well, see,
But
that's
I
my
mean, I
problem
think
with your guys' media is completely ridiculous. Did you see Tony Garcia call out Clayton Safey? Did you see that? Because Tony Garcia is actually a real respected member of your guys' media. Like, because Clayton Safey was saying, uh, this report basically shows that Harbaugh did nothing wrong, and the whole talking point. I'll see if I can find it here. Yeah, so Clayton asked a good question about if there was evidence if Harbaugh knew of the scheme, but respectively, I feel his characterization of the answer is misleading. This is the complete answer because Safey said the NCAA found no evidence that Jim Harbaugh or Michigan coaches directed or had knowledge of low-level staffers Connor Stallion's alleged off-campus scouting operation. And literally in the report it says one of the problems here was that Coach Harbaugh never turned over any emails or text messages and then refused to be interviewed by NCAA enforcement staff. The record is incomplete. In addition, as I indicated, Mr. Stallion said that he destroyed his phone, threw it in a pond. I mean, okay, all that stuff we know, right? But the point is that you can't say like someone like Safey, who's the Michigan beat, they push these narratives that just literally are not true. And Tony Garcia is also a Michigan beat, and he's basically saying this mischaracterization is not correct. So I think you have a lot of members in your media that push bullshit.
yeah, they're also pushing that Vasquez kid who transferred from Michigan. I think that's his name to Ohio State. That he was the whistleblower.
Yeah,
Like
well,
he's the
that's
one
actually,
who.
to be fair, Sam Webb, of all people, told people he needed to stop. They needed to stop with that. Because that's really happening on Balas's thing. His on the Wolverine, the Wolverine section on one. They're now going after Eric All's dad because they think Eric All, I guess, had a falling out at Michigan or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, he
Maybe you
did.
remember.
Yeah, he said he didn't like the culture there at Michigan, and he felt like he was treated poorly.
So
Which I
so
don't.
they're taking that is that Eric All, his dad, must have somehow been involved. And then they also mentioned Velasquez has not. I mean, they're getting into really weird stuff. And Sam Webb is like, when Sam Webb says you need to stop, you probably should stop.
Yeah, people should probably just back off from that shit. Like, just let this shit go away and just die instead of just.
But That's
Make,
that's what I said. What Michigan should have said all along, if I was a Michigan fan, what I would say is, yeah, we did it, so what? Right? Like, yeah, we did it, so what? Because it
Yeah,
looks because it
just
looks
play the card that you got away with it.
yeah.
pretty much it. Like, 2023 national champs. Fuck off, everyone.
Like,
Yeah, I mean
yeah, we
that's
cheated.
literally
We got nothing for it. Why weren't you?
yeah, and then when people what the
Could cheat
problem is
harder.
when people start going into this, oh it didn't happen, oh like this didn't like when they start like making excuses and a lot of it just is like provably not true, it makes that person who's doing it or that group of people doing it seem insecure about what actually went on. And I feel like that's the reason why even now discussions about their title being tainted, it seems to draw a lot of engagement on X and whatnot because there are a lot of Michigan fans who do not like that the title's legitimacy is in question. And I think
Well,
there's actually a lot of Michigan alumni who do not like what happened to the athletic department while Hardball was there.
I mean, do you like blame these people though, like for being upset that if someone told you that your team's championship was illegitimate and it was won by cheating and now it's tainted. Like I would not be happy. Like that's not
I
fun.
think I think that's based and honest reporting from intrinsic value on X. That's what I think.
No, no, it's biased. Uh,
It's based.
but
Take out the
it
I.
yeah, take away the I. But I mean, yeah, fucking course, like I would be upset too. Like I wouldn't say it's like close to be some people being insecure. Like a lot of these people, probably more than I do. Like they fucking live, breathe like Michigan football, and like this is their only thing in life. And that's nothing
Yeah.
against them, but like this is like their life, where like all they do is focus on Michigan football, and all they care about is Michigan football. And then someone tells you like, hey, well, your national title is tainted, and then you're like, well, what the fuck? I don't know what else to do.
But yeah,
You know,
I
that's just
also
the way it
think
is.
cheating pisses a lot of people off. I know that just like
Yeah.
when you
Yeah, of
cheat
course.
for something in sports, it really pisses people off because like I think the bit part of the biggest adjustments is if that team was good enough because they were good enough to win those last 8 games, right? Like they didn't need to be doing all this shit. Like the players themselves, like they're aware of the scandal that went on and how people view it. And if you're a Michigan fan, you believe that they would have won the title without it, which which maybe they would have. I mean, we'll never know, right? And I think that's part of the injustice that was done. And but that's part of the problem when you're Jim Harbaugh, when you don't have control over your staff. You don't know what anyone's doing, allegedly, right? Like at some point, you got to know what your staff is doing so stuff like this doesn't happen. And see, someone like me, and I fully believe there was knowledge of this scheme going on with the players. Like I don't understand how they would be no one would ever call into question how accurate this guy's signals were, especially in the beginning of games. And Divided had that one post, I think you got like millions of impressions on it, which is insane because it was even like many months after it where you the famous, everyone's pointing their finger up on the Stroud play. Um,
Oh yeah.
People are definitely like think those players knew, and I believe those players knew. And I also believe Corum was in business with
Stallions.
Stallions because so for one thing, I know you guys were talking about Spiro too. Spiro, when he's reports something, it's extremely accurate. When he's like saying, "This is my reporting." Now he does stuff to troll Michigan fans, like with videos and whatnot. And I get some people don't like that, but that's different from when you report something. And
Yeah.
he's told me that he has off the record conversations with Michigan, with Michigan sources, with a Michigan source or Michigan sources that the people at Michigan knew that Corum was in business with Stallions. And I think if you just look at the circumstantial evidence surrounding it, it would be a felony if he had forged Corum's name on there. And Corum had a couple other LLCs too. He clearly was a part of doing LLCs. So he was in business with him. But even at that same point, if he was in business with him and he made Quorum ineligible, that vacates it. I would argue that Quorum's eligibility matters a lot less than that cheating scheme. Because I mean, a
Should take
lot of
COI.
that's why I think some of the NCAA stuff is ridiculous. They need a faster process where this gets done in like 90 days.
Yep.
And because I mean, this is like taking forever. Like I'm tired of this cheating stuff personally. Um,
Do
like
you
leading up
do you
to like I had like millions of DMs leading up to that like week and a half before I like barely slept.
do you do you believe that the COI was influenced by Michigan's revenue?
I believe the COI was influenced. I can't prove it, but that Norman Bayes comments is specifically that member, like he either did not understand the bylaws or he purposefully deviated because of it, what effect it would have. Now, if that happened naturally, I highly doubt it just because of what I explained with the Tennessee instance and them updating the Constitution, like to basically show how you don't get postseason bans. And logically, it doesn't make sense because as soon as you remove a postseason ban, you remove any incentive for an institution to play ball, as long as they're rich enough, right? You remove any institution's incentive. And if you really think about it, like the responsibility now is basically completely on the coach So if you look at the people who were punished were the coaches or any involved individual on the coaching staff. So really, you could almost have an institutional member go out and cheat. I don't know if there's any other ways that someone could cheat, but I'm sure someone smart could think of it. And really, only person that gets in trouble is the person involved, right? And I think that that's a very flawed system because there needs to be responsibility on the coaching staff when members of your staff decide to cheat or do something else. So I don't know what this means for college football moving forward. As far as I think that if you're a college football program monitoring your staff, you're definitely going to not spend as much money doing that as much attention doing that because worst case scenario is what? A fine. So there's really not a whole lot of reason to put a lot of emphasis on monitoring your staff.
Yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be new revisions coming out.
But I think they're just going to it's just going to speed up the process to there being a commission and a better process where like when something happens, they'll have a decision like within 90 days.
Hey, thanks Stallions for income helmets. So there's a positive out of that, I guess, for you guys.
Well, so do you think he's going to coach again? Because he says he wants to coach again.
I mean, well, I don't know. So I will say this, like, as much as like I think Stallions is an insane person and also a coward for blocking Divided and I for saying that nobody's gonna pick him up as a coach.
He blocked you guys for that?
Yeah, he blocked us for that because he went on busing with the boys. Was that what it was? Divided.
Yeah, or JD Pakel, I think.
Yeah, and he said that he is like the hottest, like he's probably one of the hottest like eligible like coaches right now. And
yeah,
I think
something along those lines.
in a nutshell, we both said that like you're fucking crazy if you think that you're gonna get picked up by anyone right now amidst like an NCAA investigation. Like you're
Well, he
not.
has to serve he has that 8-year show cause, so Andy has to serve a year suspension should he
Come
Yeah, get
back.
hired.
Basically
So a
9
team
years
can
then.
so he'd have to do something in the NFL, which maybe he, could geek out on some analytics or something like that. I mean, Matt Weiss was in the NFL the last 2 years. So that shows you they're willing to hire people under scrutiny. Because there's no
I
way. I
could
mean, the
see
Browns did it. The Browns did
yeah.
it and the Seahawks. That's
I
crazy.
I could
Because it
see
would.
I could definitely see like somebody taking a chance on him just because he's really knowledgeable and clearly knows a good amount about football.
Yeah, I think he's smart. He's just insane.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
He's a crayon eating marine.
And
They do.
I thought it was funny they called it the KGB. They literally.
Yeah,
He had a
that was funny.
KGB network.
Divided was like they called it what?
I kept seeing that
And
on
they
X.
KGB.
Yeah.
Well, the Norman Bayer, his quote is like, "Well, when you have a thing in your program called the KGB, and Norman Bay did, I think, crush that one." It's like it does put into perspective the whole situation. But I do see. The good thing is football season's coming here, so there's football stuff. And
Yeah,
I
I
think
am
Michigan State beats Michigan this year.
No, not
I
at all.
am done. I am done talking about this
Yeah.
sign stealing stuff. I've gone way into it too many times. I'm ready to move on and just watch some ball. So thankfully that's coming next week. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. The Reds are in the 8th inning, so I'm going to cut you into that before I go to bed. But Intrinsic, appreciate you coming on. You're always welcome anytime you want to come on and discuss anything, whatever it might be, just let us know. Really good conversation tonight. Dove into this whole sign stealing scandal from a bunch of different angles. I think we talked in depth about it and kind of where everything stands, where everything's heading in the future. And I'm ready to move on and just get back to some football. So appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Thank you, Intrinsic, again for coming on the show. The Middle Ground out.